One Piece: The Legend of Creation, Chapter 561 to 580. 561, 561. Eat Harabel. So you don't need to be moved, and I don't need your move. The big deal is to get on the bus first and then make up the ticket again. I am still very confident in my own charm. I have no promise to give you anything in the future. Who knows? The only thing I can give you is that as long as I'm alive, I'll do my best to make you happy, and won't let you do the meaning of your existence, sacrifice, even if it's Nellie L. I won't let you sacrifice for her either. Lu Chengkong found that he was really unfit to be a hero, especially when facing a woman, especially when he was pushed down. It was even more difficult to say some wonderful love words or unrealistic promises to coax a woman's happiness. Therefore, Lu Chengkong has always been single in the complicated world of flowers in his previous life. The women of that era have developed to an extremely terrifying level. Even a woman with a dinosaur level in appearance and heart is extremely dangerous in choosing a man. He doesn't know how to talk, doesn't understand women's hearts, doesn't know how to make women happy. Always been single. The problem, I have always lived in a circle of either killing or swallowing, and I have never been warm. Where have I heard these words? And no one dared to say these words to her like this. Even if someone said these rhetoric to her, she would also. There is no feeling, because she can tell the authenticity at a glance. What she needs is not rhetoric, not the so-called pure sincerity, no matter how sincere it is. What is security? What is warmth? What is comforted? So when Nellie appeared by her side and brought her warmth and comfort, she was willing to sacrifice everything for it, in order to appreciate and protect Nellie. That can make her feel the warmth of the Pure Land. Having lived with Lu Chengkong for a long time, Halibal, who is as careful as dust, of course knows what Lu Chengkong is like. After all, women who understand a man can usually see clearly in a very short time. Especially Lu Chengkong is not a man with deep scheming, a deep sense of government, nor a heroic man. Harabel dared to say that he knew this man very well after living for a long time, so she could hear that Lu Chengkong did not say anything flattering to her. Then it's a feeling similar to what Nellie Lu brings to me, but it's different. It's a little less delicate and feminine than Nellie Lu. It's not the kind of gentle drizzle, the feeling of flowing water, ideas, such as the feeling that Nellie Lu brings to her is more secure, heavy, like a storm is like a violent storm. Making her a little overwhelmed. I don't need me, we don't have any feelings, not even good feelings. Now we just get what we want. What will happen in the future, whether you will like me or not, I don't care, I just do. It's fine. As I said before, I'm better at doing things than talking. Lu Chengkong gently kissed Halibal's cherry mouth, which had never been violated, and his tongue was broken. He opened his teeth and teased the lilac tongue, which was probably sluggish because of surprise, so he didn't dodge the panic at all, and at the same time, he licked the fragrance in Halibal's mouth. Soon Halibal came back to her senses. The high collar covering half of her face had been untied, and she actually began to clumsily respond to Lu Chengkong. In the dictionary of my life, there has always been only sacrifice and being sacrificed, and the same is true of this world. A world without sacrifice cannot exist. In order to obtain one thing, one must sacrifice another, as it is now. Lu Chengkong let go of Halibal when she was already unable to breathe, which gave her a chance to breathe, but Lu Chengkong moved his hands up and down, stroking Halibal's devilishly tall and straight jade body, while teasing. There are 2 pink grapes on the top of Halibal Jade Girl Peak. That's why I said, this is your last sacrifice, and I will never let you sacrifice again in the future. Lu Chengkong said in a low voice in Halibal's ear. As soon as he said these words, Halibal's appearance, who was just picking for Jun, immediately changed, and a pair of slender and amazingly elastic legs were leisurely sandwiched by Lu Chengkong. At the same time, Chengkong's waist said in Lu Chengkong's ear, "No, this is impossible, this is the meaning of my existence. In fact, my heart is neither sad nor regretful, I have no disgust towards you, nor I don't have a lot of good impressions, but you did make me change a lot. I didn't expect a super powerful death god who is famous in the world to become stronger with such a goal, but you make me feel very real. Promise me, don't stop using force on Nilu. On the contrary, I will do my best to serve you and make you happy. Quote. No way, it's another broken bee. One is adoring Yei, and the other is willing to sacrifice for Nilu. I'm speechless. I seem to be heinous for what I did. It seems that I never planned to use force against Nilu. Lu Chengkong thought indignantly, could it be that he was so evaluated in Halibal's heart? But unfortunately Lu Chengkong forgot how Ranju and Kurosaki Masaki came from. Isn't it? Don't think I don't know. In fact, you have been interested in Nilu for a long time. Seeing that Lu Chengkong didn't speak, Halibal thought she denied it, so she said quickly. Don't be so nervous. Generally speaking, I don't use force against beautiful women. I promise you, but this is not what you sacrificed yourself in exchange for it, but I decided to do so, and even if I didn't do that decision, I will also do this because of you. Halibal is about to become my wife's woman, as long as you are happy, so your so-called sacrificing yourself does not exist. I said that I prefer to express myself with practical actions mind. Lu Chengkong gently kissed Halibal's delicate earlobe, and said to Halibal gently, at the same time, the giant dragon on his lower body gently pushed up, so that Halibal had no chance to think and speak at all, and a layer of film shattered. At the same time, she also raised her jade neck like a swan, and cried out in pain. However, she was stubborn and wrapped her legs tightly around Lu Chengkong's waist, never letting go, as if to say, I also prefer to express my feelings with practical actions. I said that I will try my best to serve you. I will try my best. So a pair of men and women with different opinions actually completed this of Halibal in such a unique way. 562 Haribel who can't bear it. There was a tumultuous turn of clouds and rain, and when everything dissipated, the two who had been entangled in bed after almost a whole day of fighting on the bed finally came to an end with a high and tender cry from Halibal. How is it, my Halibal, are you comfortable? Lu Chengkong said proudly hugging Halibal, who seemed to be too tired to move. Hey, HMPH. It's a pity that Halibal has just fallen from the cloud at this time, and the body slowly absorbs the quality passed by Lu Chengkong. The quality is extremely high and pure, there is no trace of impurities, and it can be absorbed without any treatment at all. Spirit. She was also enjoying the wonderful feeling she had never felt before, and she was so tired that even when she was awake, she didn't have much energy to answer Lu Chengkong. She could only let out a groan from her small mouth to make Lu Chengkong almost miss the fire and lift the gun again. Get on the horse. After a long while, Halibal has recovered. Of course it refers to her sanity, her body has only regained some strength, even if the virtual system is naturally strong, and Halibal is the best among them, but in the first place. She fought for almost a day in this situation, and she couldn't bear it. However, both of them are stubborn. One is stubborn and thinks that he has to serve each other well, and the other thinks that he wants to make each other happy, so they both tried their best. It's a pity that Halibal is facing Lu Chengkong. No matter how powerful he is, he can only be defeated with hatred. Halibal, why don't we make a bet? Lu Chengkong looked at Halibal's beautiful big eyes, although he was tired, but still stubbornly looked at himself, so he thought of a solution. What bet? Haribel said weakly. It's very simple, don't you stubbornly think that the world without sacrifice is untenable? Well, I'll make a bet with you. What if one day you can sacrifice you for me? Looking at Halibal, he said seriously. Hee, are you admitting defeat? Haribel said with a smile, wanting Lu Chengkong to admit defeat is a very happy thing. No, I'm just trying to get your heart. Anyway, you think that nothing will work without sacrifice, so as long as one day I can make you willingly sacrifice for me, it doesn't mean that I have entered you. Does it take away your heart at the same time? It doesn't matter if you come to persuade me or not, admit defeat or not, I said that I cared about you at the beginning, as long as you are happy, so what if I admit defeat? Remember me what? I am good at practical actions, I really have no talent for sweet words. Lu Chengkong said with a self-deprecating laugh, obviously thinking of his life on Earth. What are you thinking about in your head? Do you need to care about these boring things? I said that I will only belong to you forever, and I will do everything I can to satisfy and serve you. You need to waste it. So much unnecessary time and effort. Harabel is really a little puzzled. He clearly achieves his goal without any effort. Is it necessary to do this? It has to be said that Halibel is actually similar to the previous Lu Chengkong, emotionally a dull idiot, and she thinks she knows Lu Chengkong very well. In fact, she ignored one aspect of Lu Chengkong, that is the masculinity, halo. Lu Chengkong now thinks that Halibel paid so much. It seems that it is not for what, but for Nelly. He is a masculine man. I had eaten Nelly L's vinegar, but of course I couldn't show it. It's worth it. Lu Chengkong clicked on Halibel's cherry lips, and said seriously, don't talk, let's rest first. Everything I said now is superfluous. Anyway, no one can change what I have decided. You don't need to think too much, talk too much, just follow the most real thoughts in your heart, and I won't disturb you anyway. After all, Halibel is not a fool. With a flash of light in her little head, she thought of a sentence from Bachanliu's time. Zongkong is a man of great masculinity. No one can change the things he decides. Is that so, macho? Is this what you're jealous of? Haha, I didn't expect you to be jealous, but it's really interesting to be jealous of a woman, but it's really cute that you're jealous. Harabel smiled in her heart. Even her face couldn't help showing a sly smile, which made her even more radiant as a first-time wife. I don't know why she didn't seem to remember anything at this moment. She didn't want to think about anything, she just wanted to lie quietly in this man's arms and fall asleep. The next day, with Halibel's sturdy resilience, she had completely recovered, but the spring color between her brows and the mature charm exuded by her every move, she still told her that Holly was present. What did Belle do yesterday? Harabel, tell me, when did you fall in love with Chengkongs? Why didn't I know? Nelly L, a little innocent and cute little fool, pulled Harabel aside and whispered. Her words it reminded Halibel of Lu Chengkong's jealous appearance, and he still ate the jealousy of the beautiful Nelly Lu in front of him. Suddenly he burst out laughing. Halibel, who rarely showed a smile, made the dull and boring boundary seem a lot more beautiful, but Lu Chengkong, who didn't listen to the whispers between women, missed a scene. However, if he saw Halibel's appearance at this time, he would have guessed that Halibel already knew that he was jealous and that his machismo had flared up. No embarrassment at all. Grimjiao, how was Bai's performance yesterday? Lu Chengkong saw that Nelly Lu was whispering to Halibel, and did not ask her about Zhu Nanbai's situation. He could only ask the boring drinker lying on the side. Grimjiao, who was drinking ice wine, because Lu Chengkong told Landau about the function of the storage ring. He was just thinking of giving it a try, but he didn't expect Landau to sit out. Although the storage space is not large, it is only 10 cubic meters, and it cannot store living things, but it makes Lu Chengkong a lot more convenient. At least he can still enjoy the food for more than 100 years in this world, and it is wonderful. Things and frosty cool ice wine to drink. Perverted. Grimjiao threw out 2 words without thinking. He recalled the day-long battle of Zhu Nanbai yesterday. After Zhu Nanbai became Shu, all the spiritual pressures that belonged to the god of death were all resolved by Lu Chengkong. All of them were integrated into Zhu Nanbai's soul after she became virtual, making her soul stronger and stronger. Therefore, the real level of Zhu Nanbai is only a low-level phantom, not even Kyrian, but she is a phantom like Nelly Lu and Nutra, so at the beginning that's how it is sometimes. 563 The growth of Zhu Nanbai. Yesterday, she was nothing but a big dummy. This is the weakest Killian group. Any rubbish Killian can kill her, so in the end, I had to summon her in the vicinity of the boundary. It's the same ruthless Shu fighting her. Grimjiao said as he recalled yesterday's battle. I really can't believe that she used to be a god of death. Even if she has become a virtual god, her fighting skills and abilities should have been deeply rooted. But what I didn't expect was that she was in a battle on the ground. She threw away all the fighting abilities of her death god, as if she was born with a phantom. And because of the amazing speed, she was familiar with figuring out a phantom fighting method. She is simply a natural warrior of phantom, and she is a super genius. I believe now with your words, maybe her potential is not inferior to Nellie L, and she can really reach Scrito like Nellie L. Have you grown to Kirian? It's pretty good. Lu Chengkong looked at Zhu Nanbai, who was still fighting and seemed to never know how tired he was. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that this was because he always pouted. Zhu Nanbai, who was lying on the ground coquettishly. Hey, look at my flying white kick. Zhu Nanbai volleyed up and stepped on the spiritual pressure that he released. A volley rolled 360 degrees, and slammed his legs in front of him from top to bottom. Killian's ear on the head. Isn't it dead yet? Look at the tricks, Phantom Flash. I don't know why Zhu Nanbai seems to like using Phantom Flashes. Even when Kirian just learned to use the lowest level Phantom Flashes, he was already thinking in his mind whether he could use them. We'll develop other different virtual flashes, more powerful virtual flashes. Now she is a real virtual, and the potential and talent she exerts are also the growth potential of the original book, which is far incomparable to her who belongs to the god of death. A ray-like flash went straight out of the sky, and banged on the head of Kilian in front of him. Kilian could only scream instinctively, and fell down with hatred. Zhu Nanbai also walked over with confidence. Kilian's Reiatsu was devoured. At the end of the first battle, Zhu Nanbai walked over and devoured it, but he refused to devour it. Daksu was too ugly to eat. In the end, Grimjiao forcibly threw one of them, and at the same time Zhu Nanbai said, "You don't have much spiritual pressure anymore. If you don't devour it, you will definitely die in front of you." In the end, Zhu Nanbai could only endure the tumbling in her stomach, closed her eyes, and completed her first swallow. As a result, she just stood up as if nothing had happened. The changes were so fast that people were overwhelmed. Mio also threw out a sentence that made Grimjiao speechless. It turns out that the taste of devouring emptiness is not bad, but it is a little ugly. Compared with the peony cake, it is only a little bit worse. Maybe a higher level will be better. Eat it, it's great. I'll have something new to eat in the future besides peony cake. At this rate, she will be able to become a chukas in about 3 days. Lu Chengkong nodded with satisfaction. Zhu Nanbai did not disappoint himself. It is not difficult to become a chukas. As long as he can survive, keep devouring, and if you have enough emptiness, you can easily reach a chukas. It's a pity that there are a few virtual energies in the virtual circle who are so taken care of when they are so weak. That's alright. In such a situation, Zhu Nanbai is a super genius. If he doesn't grow up fast, he will be too lost. Bye, you continue your own battle. Every time the battle is over and your opponent is devoured, a phantom will be released from the sealed barrier after half an hour. I have already set the spell for the barrier. It will release the virtual ones from weak to strong every half an hour, and it will stop when the time is enough every day. So you don't need to think about anything, just think about how to beat your opponent. But you can only be considered a teacher when you include all the voids in the sealing enchantment, including 2 Vastords. Lu Chengkong's words made Zhu Nanbai, who was very motivated, immediately depressed. If she could still see her face, she would definitely find that her face had changed, but she decided that the situation was stronger than others. Therefore, she could only helplessly glance at the various voids that were densely packed in the barrier, and continued to start her long road of battle and devouring. You 3, attack me together, remember, with the determination to kill me. Don't hold back anything, or you will die. Forehead is dead. Lu Chengkong realized that he had made a mistake and corrected himself very consciously. Virtual flash. Nellie L, Harabelle, and Grimjiao looked at each other and shot at the same time, and 3 false flashes of different colors came towards them. The 81 Binding Dao, Duankong. With Lu Chengkong's current strength, the power of the Duankong can be known now. One side is 100 meters long and 50 meters wide. The transparent wall appeared out of thin air, blocking the 3 virtual flashes with ease. One of them is the virtual flash released by Nellie L of Scrito. You must know that the current Nellie L has directly come to break the world once. It has long been not the realm and potential that simply has Scrito, but there is no Nellie L of comparable strength. Now, she is a genuine beginner Scrito in both realm and strength. With her terrifying potential and amazing fighting talent, she has the strength to fight even against intermediate Scrito. The virtual flash of the combined force cannot break the void. Did you not eat yesterday? And Hannibal, why did you lose your strength when you clamped me so hard yesterday? Lu Chengkong wondered if he was deliberately provoking Hannibal. Such blatant words made Hannibal's face red. He glared at Lu Chengkong angrily. Conquer him, the queen of the king shark. With a bang, the surging spiritual pressure was released from Hannibal's body. He was so stimulated by Lu Chengkong, and his good sister Nelly Lu looked at her strangely, making him she was a little embarrassed and angry, and finally fully entered the state, and shot with all her strength. 564 versus Nell, Harabel, Grimjow. Sing your praises, Antelope Rider. Squeak it, Leopard King. Seeing Hannibal's appearance, Nelly Lu immediately understood that it must be because of yesterday's reasons that Hannibal might be a little uneasy in her heart. After all, Lu Chengkong and Hannibal did not have a deep hatred. They just finished their loving couple yesterday, after enjoying the rain and dew, and it is still the kind of newlyweds. It was only the next day that Hannibal, who was a new wife, went to fight with the idea of killing her husband Lu Chengkong. Of course, it was a little difficult to enter the state, but Hannibal's performance made Lu Chengkong very happy. At least it proved that she had already left a mark on Hannibal's heart invisibly. Otherwise, if she really did what Hannibal said, she was completely sacrificing herself. For Nelly L, she didn't need to worry at all. Obviously, Hannibal already had herself in her heart. I won't start caring about myself anymore, which is a good start. Although the external factor of fighting with the determination to kill her husband the day after the newlywed has a little influence and reason, it is also true that Hannibal cares about herself. This is a good start. With this idea Lu Chengkong, who knew him, was even more happy in his heart, and wished he could roar up to the sky. Let's get back to the point. Sanchu's returning blade is exactly what Lu Chengkong imagined, and Hannibal and Grimjow's return to the blade are similar to the original, except that the virtual steel skin is less, similar to the bodies of humans and death gods. The more exposed, obviously the less the shape changes after returning to the blade, the closer it is to the level of complete death and Scrito. You can tell by looking at Nelly Lu's current appearance. After returning to the blade, apart from the fact that the Zanpakudo in his hand has become a Sui-no shotgun and his strength has soared for a long time, there is not a single change in his body. Like before returning to the blade, there is no virtual feature at all. There is no difference between the appearance of a god of death and a human being. Obviously, Nelly L, who has completely transformed into a god of death and has reached the level of Scrito, will not have any changes in her normal appearance or after returning to the blade, and will not appear any characteristics. It looks like a god of death or a human being. Nelly L's appearance at this time makes Hannibal and Grimjow very envious. Scrito is all an empty wish. I am not used to it. In the past, Guirin's upper body was in the shape of a human, and his body was an antelope. Now, the lag of Guirin is still the same as that of no Guirin, that is, the Quiji shooting gun is still there. Nelly Lu is really not a home. I don't know Chai Migi, how can she understand the current mood of Hannibal and Grimjow, and they have reached the level that all opportunities are envious and looking up. She actually said such a thing, even if he Libel couldn't help thinking in her heart, if you don't like this, I'd rather exchange with you. Virtual flash. Lu Chengkong's eyes became cold when he saw how many of them were endless. It was not that he would not have the slightest pity when fighting. The bright silver false flash penetrated the air directly, with the terror of destroying everything. The breath shot towards Nelly Alucin. It's miserable, the king is angry. Grimjow's expression changed, but he knew Lu Chengkong's character, so he hurriedly entered the fighting state. His eyes also changed, and it was only when there was a strong enemy in front of him that he appeared full of coldness. The eyes of intent and war intent. Nelly L on the side also underwent such a change. Obviously they are all in a state of battle. They all know Lu Chengkong's character. He is usually approachable, but at some point, he is absolutely indistinguishable. Wang Shu's flash. With his mother Grimjow's right hand, a sphere with a jagged blue light immediately appeared and burst out with a bang. The strange thing was that Grimjow did not shoot at Lu Chengkong in front of him. The virtual flash that came out instead shot at Lu Chengkong. Virtual flash replay. Neliel quickly answered all the questions, only to see her open her mouth and take a breath, using her special ability to actually destroy Lu Chengkong's emptiness under such a big gap in strength. Flash swallowed it, turned it into his own power, and then mixed his own dark pink phantom flash to shoot at Lu Chengkong. A long time ago, Lu Chengkong had told Nelielu that if you use your mouth to release the phantom flash in the face of the enemy, don't use the phantom flash ensemble. Lu Chengkong is very masculine. Even if you don't do this, there will be no close kissing. After all, the energy of the virtual flash is so high, even if you release it with your mouth, it is impossible to touch the mouth, let alone possess saliva and the like. But it also looks uncomfortable. Therefore, Nelly Lu, who knew what was going on, actually smiled and nodded and agreed. Of course, it was also beneficial. If Lu Chengkong used his mouth to release the virtual flash, Nelly Lu could use this move. You can't release it with your mouth, you can do it with your hands or something. However, the most perverted release of Void Flash Lu Zongkong is only Nutra, a psychopathic guy. Is her strength worth Nelly Lu's Void Flash duet? With the strength of his mask removed, even if he devoured him again and again, and regained his previous strength, compared with Nelly Lu, who is now a junior Scredo, it is simply a world of difference, to put it more directly. Don't talk about using false flash or false flash replay. Even if you don't pull out the soul-chopping sword, the Reiatsu alone will crush him. After all, his strongest strength in the original book is only the broken face of Achuka's. That's all, and it's still garbage catalyzed by the incomplete liberation of Bengyu. On the contrary, the current Nelly Elu is just a stronger opponent in front of the current Nelly L, even if the original work uses the fourth stage of Bengyu to change Aizen, and it is impossible to defeat the primary Scredo level. Has the strength to fight against the mid-level Scredo level Daxu. It can also use all the abilities of the Shinigami, including Shikai, Bankai, and Nelly L. On the contrary, it will not take too long for Nelly L to defeat Aizen, and it may be more troublesome to kill. King John Cannon. Halibal's shark-shaped sword pointed at Lu Chengkong from a distance, and under the infusion of spiritual power, a knife-shaped wave was shot towards Lu Chengkong. Each of the three virtuals used their own housekeeping skills. Chengkong's virtual flash even made Lu Chengkong's virtual flash a part of their offensive. Yes, are you finally willing to admit defeat? That's fun. Wang Shu's flash. Lu Chengkong's face remained unchanged, his right hand was stretched out again, and the black-red sphere with a dazzling zigzag light condensed and formed, and it exploded at the same time. It shot out and collided fiercely with the tricks of the three in front of him. 565 instant defeat of Grimjow, Harabel. Boom. The thunder-like loud noise suddenly came out along with the astonishing spiritual power fluctuations. The terrifying destructive power blew the earth within a radius of 3 miles into a huge deep pit, and the nearby air seemed to have become turbulent, flowing everywhere, and distortions appeared in many places. Cough cough. Grimjow, who was weaker, suffered the aftermath of the collision of spiritual power just now, which caused him to be injured, and the blood slowly dripped to the ground. Don't delay for too long, fight quickly. At this time, Nelly L was like a Valkyrie who was commanding the battle on the battlefield. If she had another warhorse under her crotch, she would be a majestic female knight. However, for Nelly Elu, who can be said to be a united human being and does not need the so-called warhorse at all, she is already the strongest fighter, unstoppable in her charge, her sharp edge, and no one dares to command the flag in battle. Refute. The claws of the Leopard King. Grimjow knew that he was the weakest, and if he dragged him down, he would probably become a burden. With his own backbone and self-esteem, he would not allow himself to be a burden, so when he shot again, he was already his strongest. Strong stunt. Battle Shizuku. Halibal was also not to be outdone, showing that a series of high-pressure water currents similar to tides were released, bombarding Lu Chengkong continuously like cannonballs. Break up. It was full of powerful water currents, pouring down from the sky like a waterfall. Apparently, After using Shizuku to create a river-like water flow, Hannibal immediately used the strongest stunt to break up the explosion, restoring the moisture in the air. All the water currents from all directions gathered together to form a waterfall-like water column that contained a powerful impact and swept toward Lu Chengkong again. It's a very good trick. It's really not boring to keep you attacking. Lu Chengkong flashed, without any thought of dodging, and faced the huge real leopard claws in front of him and the tricks like a water dragon. The angle like the water column swept in by itself. I saw Lu Chengkong sticking out his left and right hands at the same time, like a spirit snake coming out of a hole. A poisonous snake spitting out a letter as fast as a terrifying swipe is actually using his left hand to crush the claws of the leopard king, and the 5 fingers of his right hand are spread out. It was as if the yellow river had burst its banks, and the endless bursts of powerful impact could not make Lu Chengkong's body retreat half a minute, and he couldn't even shake it. So powerful. Hannibal, who was fighting Lu Chengkong head-on for the first time, had already deeply felt the horror of this man, and thought that she was actually under the crotch of this powerful man yesterday. Looking at His Majesty, Haki, looking down at the world, for the first time, Hannibal felt that her heart was beating violently. If she didn't pay attention, she really wouldn't be able to notice this subtle change. At this moment, Hannibal already understood why so many enemies were unwilling to be enemies with Lu Chengkong, and also understood why Lu Chengkong was still alive despite so many enemies. So moisturizing. I'm sorry, you two have stopped here. Lu Chengkong's voice rang in the ears of Hannibal and Grimjow, causing their pupils to shrink. With a pain, a surging force spread directly from the stomach to the whole body, making their bodies unable to resist the whole person and flying out like a cannonball, directly smashing the trees and rocks behind them, and flying out more than 1,000. Yuan just stopped. Cough cough. Hannibal coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although she wasn't dead, both she and Grimjow felt like they were falling apart, and they couldn't even stand up. Kuiji shoots the gun. Just as Lu Chengkong co-ed Hannibal and Grimjow, Nellie L's coquettish shout resounded from behind him, and an incomparably sharp momentum spread from behind Lu Chengkong. Come on, Nellie L seems to have become the incarnation of the cavalry charge of thousands of troops on the battlefield. All the cavalry bursting out of the entire battlefield seemed to be fused into Nellie Lu's body. The Kuiji spear in his hand pierced the air directly, and stabbed Lu Chengkong with an unrivaled and unstoppable furious aura. At this moment, Nellie Lu can't see her usual cute, quiet and approachable appearance at all. Some of them are just a Valkyrie on the battlefield. Once they charge, the Antelope Knight will never stop. The only difference is that in the original book, her upper body was a humanoid, and her body was an antelope, but now she is a complete human and a god of death. The steel-making skin looks like the god of death, the same snow skin and jade skin as a human being, but don't be fooled by her beautiful skin. Although she is as smooth as silk and has amazing elasticity, if you want to cut through her skin is extremely difficult. After returning to the blade, there was no change in the slightest, except for the Kuiji shooting gun. The clothes and the appearance are still the same as before, but the strength and momentum of the current Nellie Lu who charged in the original book are not 1/10,000th of the original's power. After all, after the original mask was shattered, she who used the return blade was at most the strength of a Chuka's, but now she is an elementary level Skrito, and even a middle level Skrito has the power to fight Nellie L. Your charge, Nilu, is really powerful. Lu Chengkong sighed in admiration, turned his body suddenly, grabbed the head of Nilu's Kuiji gun, forcibly blocked Nili's charge, and let her speed is extremely fast. The power is extremely strong, and the penetrating power of Kuiji's spear can no longer be advanced. However, Lu Chengkong is also holding it near the head of the spear, and he dare not touch the spear cone directly, otherwise even Lu Chengkong's steel skin will be pierced. You must know that Nellie Lu's strength is far from Lu Chengkong's. Now Nilu has returned to the blade, but Lu Chengkong Bankai, Guiran and many other abilities have not been used, and even the stunt of Zanpakudo Shikai has not been used. He has always used the physical strength of his hands to fight like Shu. Even with such a big gap in strength, Lu Chengkong still didn't dare to directly touch the head of Nilu's Kuiji spear, especially one could see the horror of Nilu's move. However, if you only have this strength, lie down too. Lu Chengkong punched out, bursting the air, distorting the space, and the terrifying fist wind directly blocked Nellie Alu's so-called retreat. Dragon Tooth Sudden. Nellie's face suddenly became extremely solemn, and the gun of jade in her hand waved for a while, as if Nellie and the gun of jade in her hand became one in a moment. The charge of the knight has always been only going, had no way to retreat, even if the enemy was stronger than himself. The whole person rushed forward, not retreating but advancing, pulling out a series of afterimages, directly facing Lu Chengkong's shocking punch. 566 defeated Nellie L. The guns and fists intersected, and the thunder and lightning-like roar resounded continuously, and a dazzling light burst out at the intersection of Quiji's shooting gun and Lu Chengkong's fists, directly surrounding Lu Chengkong and Nellie Lu. When the two people's stunts intersected, the spiritual power fluctuations that spread out seemed to turn into a series of electric snakes, raging around the two, and punching out countless big pits in the earth near the two. Click. When a crisp cracking sound sounded, a huge force bounced back from the fist and the gun, and Nellie L was pushed hundreds of meters away by the rebounded force before it stopped in the air. Lu Chengkong just swayed, standing on the spot unharmed, his feet never took a step back. It's actually cracked. Nellie Eru glanced at the Quiji shooting gun in surprise. This weapon that she was proud of after returning to the blade was actually cracked by Lu Chengkong. It's really amazing. With such a big gap in strength, I can still cut through my steel skin. The Quiji shooting gun is well deserved. Lu Chengkong also glanced at his right hand, and there was a red scar, but there was no blood, but the steel skin of his hands was indeed torn. Already bleeding. It's just that this wound healed in an instant after it appeared, and it regenerated at a high speed. The speed of regeneration was unmatched by Ulquioricifer's rapid regeneration. Therefore, if Lu Chengkong didn't pay attention to the red scar just now, eyesight is not good enough to see. Nilu, Shikai, Benkai, otherwise, you will be too far behind now. Lu Chengkong stepped out, suppressing the void, and the dignified spiritual pressure continued to press on Nelia. Hehe, my Shikai, Benkai only thinks about my enemy, you are not. Nelia Lu shook her head, not looking down on Lu Chengkong. Contrary, she knew that even if Benkai Lu Chengkong wanted to kill her, it would not be difficult, but she had her own perseverance. Even if Lu Chengkong asked her to fight with the idea of killing her, Nellie Lu could do it, but he has never been able to use the liberation of his Zanpakuto. Stupid, don't you use it if we stand in a hostile direction one day. Lu Chengkong said with a bit of hatred. Obviously he thought that Nellie L's old innocence and kindness had come back again, but he now at that time, he forgot that Nellie L was already a junior Scredo at this time. How could he still be affected by the symbol of his own power and mind like in Vastord, and make such a naive mistake? You'd say yes, too, but I know there won't be ifs, and there won't be that day, will it? Nellie L winked at Lu Chengkong playfully. Her words also made Lu Chengkong feel at ease. At the same time, Lu Chengkong, who had calmed down, also cursed himself for being an idiot. Nellie L was already Scredo at this time. How could such a mistake be made? Her kindness and her innocence will only be reserved for those who deserve her attention. Others, who dare to violate the bottom line in her heart and hurt the people and things she protects, even if they only have this idea, or their inclination and performance will be waiting for them. It was Nellie L's thunderclap, and she didn't need any reason. Nutra's lesson had already made her understand. Since that's the case, then don't blame me. Lu Chengkong's eyes suddenly changed back to calm, his figure flashed up, and his speed was extremely fast. Even a knight who is good at speed, the speed of a charging knight is the most terrifying. Powerhouse can only see a little bit of trajectory, but when she just received the subsidy, her body was too late to respond. As I said, I'm your enemy now. Lu Chengkong didn't keep his hand, and a whip kick swept out Nellie Lu Lianshu, human, with a gun, and Lu Chengkong's attack didn't end at all. Lu Chengkong had already followed after Nellie Lu was swept away, his 5 fingers clenched into fists, and the crackling sound suddenly sounded. It turned out that Lu Chengkong concentrated the spiritual pressure on his fist, and the spiritual pressure was compressed to the extreme. The breath that was emitted seemed to flash like thunder and lightning. This lightning-like punch directly hit Nellie Alu's stomach, and her colleague also reported it. After Hannibal, Grimjow followed in the footsteps of being blasted out, knocking over several mountains, and fell to the ground, creating a big pit. PFF'd. Nellie L spat out a mouthful of blood, but it always had a happy smile on her face, which made her look very poignant. She told Lu Chengkong with her expression that she didn't regret it. She believes that she will never become Lu Chengkong's enemy. If there is such a day, then she will end her life before becoming an enemy. This idiot, Lu Chengkong scolded secretly, but a warm current flowed through his heart. Nellie L's unrepentant trust made his heart feel as if the spring breeze was blowing, warm, comfortable. After the battle, Lu Chengkong was completely different from the indifference during the battle. He hugged Hannibal and Nellie L with a heartache on his face, asked for warmth, and took care of himself. As for Grimjow, who is a big man, Lu Chengkong directly threw it to a healing ghost, and after healing his wounds, he ignored him, asking him to hug a man and ask him for help. He would think about it. Nausea, tingling scalp, and sometimes if there is no need for extra between men and men, a look is enough, especially for people like Grimjow, indecisive, like a bitch, it will make him disgusted. HMPH, I know my heart hurts now. Why didn't you hold back when you were fighting just now? Even Nilu, who trusted you so much, was so cruel. Hannibal gave Lu Chengkong a sullen look, but her expression changed when she said this. All were red. Especially when Nellie Lu looked at her with strange eyes. It made her feel embarrassed and wanted to find a hole to dig in, which made her keep asking herself what happened today. How could you act like a little girl to him? What are you looking at? Seeing that Lu Chengkong was also looking at her like this, Hannibal suddenly cried out in a coquettish voice, but no matter how you looked at it, it seemed a little too revealing, but Lu Chengkong didn't care about it. He knew that Hannibal must be very contradictory at this time, but he believed that as long as his actual actions were maintained, this contradictory psychology would be completely healed over time. For the next 160 years, Lu Chengkong fought 3 times every day with Grimjow, Hannibal, and Nellie Lu. The beating was heavily scarred, but afterward, it was very tender and heartache to greet Hannibal and Nellie L. 567 Advanced Fastword. Especially Hannibal, Lu Chengkong's love and concern for her over the past 100 years made Nellie Lu on the side feel a little sour and envious of Vivi. Lu Chengkong's contradictory actions at that time seemed to be to cooperate with Holly. Belle's ambivalence appears. But it is worth mentioning that with Lu Chengkong's persistent care and love over the past 100 years, the emotional relationship between Hannibal and him can be said to have skyrocketed, and there is no contradiction in Hannibal's heart for a long time. Since her heart is like this, there is no need for her to be so stubborn and contradicting herself. So the two seem to keep a distance from the initial, and gradually turned into Hannibal's behavior of showing Lu Chengkong's little daughter from time to time, such as acting coquettishly, and doing some actions that only husband and wife can do. In the end, although Hannibal didn't admit defeat, the two looked like a couple who had been very close and loving for many years. It was just small things like hugging each other, and kissing. And in these countless battles, Nellie Lu still did not release the Zanpakuto, but only used the return blade. She was very stubborn, even when Lu Chengkong forced her into a desperate situation many times and even nearly died many times. Not willing to use it, her stubbornness, and her trust made Lu Chengkong both angry and moved. However, it's not that Nellie Lu didn't get benefits. She never released the Zanpakuto, and she only used nobles to fight. In the past 100 years, her return blade has become stronger and sharper. After returning to the blade, her strength has increased more and more, and she has learned a lot of powerful and sharp tricks in the countless life and death battles of returning to the blade. Virtual Flash. With a coquettish shout, a light green phantom flash annihilated a giant bear-shaped Tachukas in front of him, and what caught his eye was a masked Superman-like woman. Needless to say, everyone guessed it. It is Kunan Bai. Her phantom color turned light green after she advanced to Echuca's. Today, after a hard fight, and even at the cost of almost dying, she finally broke out and found an opportunity to use Phantom to kill with one strike. When Ju Nanbai swallowed up the giant bear Echuca's in front of him, which was also the last and the most powerful one of Echuca's brought by Lu Chengkong, Jinan, who had a relatively large range of spiritual pressure, Bai immediately received strong and powerful support. The spiritual pressure of her body did not float down the mountain, but rushed straight up. Substantial light covered her body. With a click sound, it sounded in Ju Nanbai's body, as if there was something wrong. Like something broke. Suddenly, Ju Nanbai's spiritual pressure instantly soared several times, and at the same time, the mask on the eyes part of her head was shattered, revealing her big watery eyes that had been separated for a long time to the world again. Have you finally reached Vastord? Lu Chengkong thought. Isho, sure enough, the more than 160 years of battles have brought Ju Nanbai from the illusory realm that Kilian doesn't count to the first level Vastord. Ju Nanbai certainly did not let himself down. The accumulation of Reiatsu, etc., which he simply worked hard in desperation, is all brought about by swallowing, the breakthrough of battle, without any cheating, without any luck and origin. Some are just crazy battles, constant push your potential out. But I have to say that she is really a super genius of the virtual. She can grow from an incompetent virtual who is incomparable to Kilian to the first level Vastord in more than 100 years. The speed of progress is fast. It's really jaw-dropping. Now her strength is 10 times stronger than when she was still the god of death. More importantly, her talent and awareness in combat are astonishing, even compared to Nellie L. Yeah, I've finally arrived at Vastad. It's great. I can finally leave this place. I must eat a lot of peony cakes when I go back. The happy look of the last two Vastords in the world disappeared again. Because the first of the two Vastords in front of him is a little bit better, and he is the same as Ju Nanbai, but the second one is not. The level is higher than Ju Nanbai, who is the middle level Vastad, and the gap is even bigger when he begins to understand the death of himself. Although he has just started, he understands a bit of death every time. Each mask is reduced a little bit. Just like a breakthrough, the strength has soared a lot. However, when they are both at the peak of Vastord, one has not comprehended the deification of death, and the other has fully comprehended the transformation of death. Singled out at least 10 or even more peak Vastord who have not yet begun to comprehend death, and kill them all. Before breaking the limit, Void and Shinigami are different. Shinigami has Ghost Way, Kendo, White Fight, Shunbu, the liberation of Zanpakudo, etc. There are many directions for improving strength. However, Vastord only has a level upgrade. The advanced level becomes the intermediate level, the high level, and the peak level. The improvement strength of each stage will have a qualitative increase. Another direction of improvement is death. The more masks fall, the smaller the virtual hole is, the more the comprehensive strength will be improved, and there is a lot less direction for improvement than the god of death. Although more than 160 years have passed here, the outside world has only passed a month. Why are you so anxious? Today, I will give you a day off. Although you can't leave the boundary, you can rest for a while without fighting. Lu Chengkong knew that the god of death, Shu, is actually similar to people in many places, and the combination of work and rest was equally useful for both the god of death and the god of death. Although the stronger the Reaper and the Void are, the greater their toughness will be, and they will not have any problems with not sleeping or fighting continuously for many years. But the road to strength improvement is indeed very particular, and after reaching a certain level, simply practicing hard has no effect. In addition to fighting, there is only comprehension, so Ju Nanbai's continuous fighting, non-stop training or non-stop fighting will be counterproductive when too much is reached. Because she didn't have time to calm down and exercise her state of mind, feel the symbol of her spiritual power, and try to control it. Of course, for a strong person who pursues the path of the strong, no matter what life form, fighting is forever necessary. It's just that you can't fight day and night like before you became Vastord. After all, even if your body can support such a continuous fight, your spirit, your heart, and your soul will also. There are times when you are tired, so it is very important to relax in a proper way. 568 Nellie L's heart. Harabelle, do you think I'm weird? Nellie L asked Harabelle, who was standing beside her, looking at the peculiar scenery of the boundary. Why do you say that? Harabelle said, puzzled. Obviously she didn't understand what happened to Nellie L today. In the past, she was very broad and lovely. She could do whatever she wanted, and there would never be any hesitant, but she seems to have been preoccupied these days. I'm so surprised. I have always regarded Lu Chengkong as a very good friend of mine. I don't have any strange feeling about how many wives he has, but I don't know why. After I found out that you and him are getting along, the deeper the relationship and the more loving, my heart is actually a little sour. It's strange, am I bad? You are so kind to me, and you have found such a good husband, my heart should be happy for you. Yes, it's just. Nellie L said she felt a little confused and didn't know what to say. Don't think about it, just be happy. Maybe it's just an illusion. Maybe we've been sisters for so many years, and you're a little reluctant for a while. After all, Harabelle is already a wife, and she was emotionally ignorant compared to that time. I don't know. Nellie L, who seems very young, understands Nellie L's situation at this time, but as a bystander and a good sister, she does not intend to interfere. Sometimes too much interference as an outsider is not good. As long as Nellie L is happy, everything will be fine. Harabelle saw that Nellie L would never escape Lu Chengkong's palm a long time ago, so she would say no to her when she was having sex. Lu Chengkong used strong words against Nellie Lu. Especially in the battle more than 100 years ago, Nellie Lu's stubborn trust was repeatedly forced by Lu Chengkong into a desperate situation, even on the verge of death, refusing to use the slash that only liberates the enemy. Pakuto. That kind of trust without complaint and no regrets, coupled with the fact that they have been together for more than 100 years, and the silent care and gentle care after the battle have long cultivated a strong relationship, but it is only a few factors that make the relationship established by Nellie L through trust happen. Just qualitative change. It would be fine if it was just Nellie Lu and Lu Chengkong. If it was just the two of them, this might not happen, but there was a Harabelle. Lu Chengkong's actions when dealing with Harabelle were Nellie Lu K watched it silently, from the beginning of the distance between the two of them, to the whole process of their incomparable love at the end. She had witnessed the whole process of Nellie Lu. Well, I'm just happy, I understand. Nellie L was stunned for a moment. When she came back to her senses, the worry and hesitation on her face disappeared, and a beautiful smile bloomed on her face. The bright smile matched with Nellie's pretty face and her unique temperament, which made Harabelle unable to help Vivi lose her mind, and at the same time her heart was also smiling. This is Nellie's Lu, the current Nellie Lu is back. Hey, the two beauties, it's a little lonely looking at the scenery here, why don't you call me? Lu Chengkong came to the back of the two women, and said jokingly as soon as he opened his mouth. Hee, didn't you come here uninvited now? Nellie Lu showed her isho face to Lu Chengkong, and the charm that belonged to Nellie L was released for the first time, making Lu Chengkong's eyes stunned. Is this still Nellie L? Although she is usually cute, innocent, and very beautiful. But the kind of blasphemy that makes it hard for people to develop a blasphemous heart is like a mortal who sees a goddess. No matter how beautiful, how lecherous a person is standing in front of the goddess. Lu's beauty is holy and innocent, and it's easy to feel ashamed when standing in front of her, let alone give birth to evil intentions. But the current Nellie Lu is still the same as before, occasionally showing naughty and cuteness, but Lu Chengkong always feels that the current Nellie Lu is different from the previous one. Yes, it is charming, a kind of harmony. Her holiness and innocence complement each other's charm. People can't take their eyes away at a glance, and their minds are full of her figure, but they can't produce a blasphemous charm in their hearts. In general, the current Nellie Lu is more beautiful than before, so beautiful. Thrilling. It's not that her appearance has changed, but that her unique temperament seems to have been sublimated. If you don't want to come, don't invite yourself. There are two big beauties to accompany you. Even if you climb, you have to climb over. Lu Chengkong quickly came to his senses. Although he was a little confused, he did not say it. Instead, you will always know. Hee hee, so are you crawling here for Nilu or for your petite wife Harabelle? Suddenly Nellie L asked a rather sharp question, which made Lu Chengkong and Halibal stay for a while, but after seeing the playfulness on Nellie L's face, she knew that she was deliberately making such a joke to let Lu Chengkong. Chengkong was ugly, but it was a pity that she underestimated Lu Chengkong's thick skin. Of course you have both. Lu Chengkong secretly laughed, wanting to see my joke. You are not good enough, so Lu Chengkong deliberately squeezed between the two women, holding Halibal and Nellie L with one hand. The two held each other in their arms. The strange thing is that it is normal for Halibal not to struggle. After all, these are just the most common little actions for her, but what surprised Lu Chengkong was that Nellie Lu didn't respond, and even said that he took the initiative to let her take her away. Hold in his arms. Halibal, aren't you afraid that I will take your little lover away? Nellie Lu's mouth twitched vivi. She found that her heart really didn't resist Lu Chengkong's embrace, and just now she promised to let nature take its course. Recalling the first meeting with Lu Chengkong back then, he scolded himself for being stupid, and he hated iron but not steel. In the end, he saved himself, and also represented himself in the virtual circle, allowing himself to enjoy a carefree, no fighting, and very peaceful life in this world. Nellie L left a very deep memory in her heart, where life made her feel very satisfied and happy. Then he helped him reach the realm that countless Daxu dreamed of, and the more than 100 years of day and night that he came to break realm, every bit of things flashed in Nellie L's heart. Her trust in him, his tenderness towards herself, all reverberated in her heart. It could be said that the relationship between her and Lu Chengkong was the most unique. There was no vigorous love, no overlord to force the bow, just simply getting along day and night. The water is long and thin, like a spring rain, there is no violent drizzle, and summer just slowly accumulated through the lack of trust between countless couples. Just now, she decided that if she felt uncomfortable, then she would leave. If it wasn't uncomfortable and she could accept it, then let it just admit it. Anyway, her heart wouldn't lie to her, and Lu Chengkong would be greatly affected. When people are blessed, God may not be able to see his smug look, and a phantom flash suddenly came to the three of them. 569 verses. Advanced Scrito. Sneak attack is not a good thing. What I hate most is this. I have always been the only one who attacked others. There is no reason for others to attack. Lu Chengkong still had a flat smile on his face, but his eyes were flickering with cold light. He stretched out a hand to the back, and shot out a bright silver phantom without looking at it, which directly offset the phantom behind. Nilu, Halibal, you all step aside first. There is a mouse coming, clean it up and then let's make out. Lu Chengkong said in a serious manner at the end. It's not serious, it's still like this at this time. Halibal said angrily, but she walked away obediently. I believe you will win. Nellie L smiled, not knowing when she had so much trust in Lu Chengkong, believing that there was nothing he couldn't do. Maybe it was the same as emotion, bit by bit accumulated without anyone noticing. Of course, it doesn't take much time to deal with this level of stuff. Lu Chengkong also responded with Isho, and he had a feeling that he was facing the 8,000 flows for his trust in Nellie, and it was only when the 8,000 flows were left that he could let himself go. There is this feeling of completely giving her back to her without reservation, and now Nellie Lu has brought this feeling to herself. If you win, I'll give you a sweet kiss as a reward. This is Nilu's first kiss. Neely Alu didn't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but before leaving, she deliberately left a very ambiguous sentence. Lu Chengkong almost couldn't help throwing her to the ground because of her cute and charming appearance. Is this the god of death that my king asked me to kill? It doesn't seem to be anything special, but he is still distracted during the battle. A man with a zanpakudo in his hand who didn't know if it was a god of death or a ghost walked out, because he looked the same as Nellie L, and he didn't have any features of the ghost at all. The whole person looked like a god of death, no difference between humans. If it's the god of death, it's fine, but if it's a phantom, it means that this big phantom is at least at the level of Scrito. It's actually a high-level Scrito, 2 stages higher than Nilu. Lu Chengkong's pupils Vivi shrank a little, and he said a little surprised, Scrito is already a rare species in the virtual circle, more than the national treasure panda. To be rare, I didn't expect to encounter one in the Broken Realm, and it was a high-level Scrito. If you can see my strength, then I will put away my contempt for you. Maybe it's a good battle. It is also a gift for you to enjoy a good battle before you die. Remember to kill the name of the man who killed you, Elroth. Elros let out a loud roar, pulled out his Zanpakudo, and disappeared with a sound, before coming to Lu Chengkong and stabbing straight at it. Boring. Lu Chengkong slanted to the left of Vivi, without consuming any extra movement. He flashed past Elros's straight stab, and at the same time he pulling out a half-moon of light in the air, and slashed ruthlessly. Elroth's body. Poochie. A bloody arrow flew out, and Elros looked at the wound on his chest in surprise. He didn't expect that this god of death could slash himself when he avoided his attack. The data did not say that his strength was only at the beginning level. Chengdu of intermediate Scrito, how can it be so great? A chilling glance. The Shuiyan mad knife in Lu Chengkong's hand twisted and turned into a flash in midair. There was no extra movement. Split and fly out. Virtual flash. Elros is Elros after all. No matter what he said, he was a high-level Scrito. After the initial surprise, he immediately prepared for it. First, he drew the rung in front of him and slashed straight ahead. The huge ice blade blocked it, and the body flew out at the same time, and the left hand shot a virtual flash against the ice blade in front of him. After a long stalemate, Iceland shattered with a click. Hey, where are you looking? It's a pity that Lu Chengkong's voice came from behind him before he had time to be happy, making his face extremely gloomy, and he shot a flickering back without even thinking about it. Is it useful? Frozen 3 feet. The blade's strength is condensed, thicker than 3 feet, and there is no trace left in the face of the bombardment of the virtual flash. Trapped, frozen for 3 feet, trapped people can even trap themselves. What is this? Even the strongest Zanpakudo in the ice and snow type can't make such a hard layer of ice. Elros didn't expect his opponent to be so difficult. Even stronger than himself. Red apricots in the snow. Lu Chengkong returned to him directly with his own knife technique, and swung out a simple knife. The space also vibrated, and countless cracks appeared in the ground. Elros felt the dangerous situation. The next 2 words will go straight to the blade. Roar, bull beast. The surging spiritual pressure spewed out in all directions like a tidal wave. After returning to the blade, Elros' appearance did not change in the slightest, but 2 huge horn-like blades appeared in his hands. Moreover, his body gave people a very amazing sense of power. Obviously, like the name of Guiron, what he is best at is power. Fighting bull with rage. Elros burst out with an astonishing aura, but this aura contained a kind of anger. As if it was his name, and after his aura was inflated to the extreme, he really rushed towards Lu Chengkong like a tireless mad cow. The horn blades in his hands seemed to have turned into huge horns, as if he wanted to tear Lu Chengkong's body apart. If you meet the strong, you will be strong, and step on the snow to find the plum. Lu Chengkong uses his legs to control the sword, and the use of both the sword and the legs makes the return of the sword very unpredictable, but it gives people a feeling of unstoppable strength, and when the strong is strong, it will be strong. Without any evasion or withdrawal, he directly faced the strongest point of Elros. Bang! In the battle between the 2 of them, the spiritual power fluctuations that erupted from the collision of their unique tricks have exceeded the tolerance of the boundary-breaking space. The magnitude of the space vibration is getting bigger and bigger, and even the center of the collision has cracks in the space. The tree was blown away by the hurricane formed by the aftermath of the spiritual power that spread out, and it was uprooted. Break it for me, Lu Chengkong shouted loudly, and when he moved his right foot, a dazzling light burst out directly. The ice blade that was stalemate wanted to get sufficient support and became even bigger, directly splitting the space, with an earth-shattering effect. The power directly severed Elros, 2 horn blades, and the remaining power slashed on Elros' body, blasting his whole body into the ground, leaving a 5-meter-long streak on the ground. More than 500 meters of cracks. 570. Nellie shows her hands. Damn, as a guard of Wang Shu, I was beaten like this by a god of death. It's unforgivable and unforgivable. I didn't want to use the power of the god of death. Now let me show you my Bankai. Elros stood up from the ground covered in blood. Although he can regenerate overspeed, he obviously belongs to the person who gave up overspeed regeneration for stronger power. Although after beating Screedo, even if he gave up overspeed regeneration, the big virtual will have it too, but it is far from the super speed regeneration of Daxu, which has not been given up before. It's a pity that Lu Chengkong's snow walking search for Plum is not so easy to pick up. Every wound in Elros has left layers of frost. If you want to regenerate quickly, you must remove the frost on it. The frost power contained in it will continue to erode Elros' body. Pity that Elros, whose strength has skyrocketed again after Bankai, has temporarily suppressed the power of frost, but when his strength has weakened, these inconspicuous powers of frost are likely to become his talismans. Haha, Grim Reaper, I don't believe you can resist it with the combination of Guiran and Bankai, go to hell. His Bankai and Komamura Sajin, the late Namori and the 2 Grim Reaper are all very good. Are they similar? They are all biological summoning systems. However, one is the king of the black flies, and the other is the golden killing Jizo, but Elros's is a much bigger head than the king of the black flies and the golden killing Jizo. It has 3 tails, 6 horns, and is covered in red. The body is surrounded by ghost cows burning flames. It's really an impulse like a cow. Lu Chengkong chuckled, looking at him rushing straight towards him. Every time he took a step, the space that he stepped on with his heavy footsteps shook. Hands to touch. You must know that this is obviously the strongest strength of a high-level Screedo returning blade plus Bankai. Even if you are confident in your own steel skin, you will not become arrogant. Bingren Bingshin. Lu Chengkong took a deep breath and eliminated all the distracting thoughts in his mind. He looked indifferently at the dashing towards the sky, trying to crush himself into pieces like a sky-high mad cow, the snow in his hand. The dazzling ice-blue light burst out from the Kwang Kwang Dao, and the moisture between the heavens and the earth seemed to be concentrated on the blade of the Kwang 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 Dao, and the emitted rays of light turned into countless slender ice knives. Hey, Bingren Bingshin has always had 2 attack methods, one is a group attack and the other is a single attack. If Lu Chengkong released it directly, it would be a group-wide attack with an extremely terrifying coverage. Now however, Lu Chengkong merged all the countless slender ice blades radiated from the snowy drink crazy blade into one, and then slashed fiercely at the soaring mad ghost cow in front of him with the power of splitting the world. Click. The blow that combined all the ice knives directly opened a crack in the space in front of the snow drink crazy knife, and this crack could not be repaired under the erosion of the endless frost gas of the snow drink crazy knife, instead it became more and more. The more obvious, the bigger the crack. An ice blade that spanned thousands of meters across the space seemed to block the light of the sky and came out of nowhere, without emitting any sound, and silently divided the huge soaring ghost cow in front of him into 2. No, you can't be so powerful. I'm a high-level Screedo, as Wang Shu's guard. Even if I am the King's Guard Zero Squad, there are not many people who are my opponents. You are a small, but how can the death god of hundreds of years be my opponent? Elros was unwilling, frightened, angry, and roared in disbelief, but in the end it turned into endless fear. But at the moment when the fear appeared, he seemed to remember something, and the color of fear immediately dissipated into the invisible. Let Lu Chengkong's heart sank, and his intuition told him that if things were abnormal, he would be a demon, and he must have something to rely on. Sure enough, a sharp voice piercing the air came from behind Lu Chengkong, and just when Lu Chengkong was about to withdraw his sword and attack Dashu, who was sneaking behind him, a beautiful but cold and murderous voice suddenly came. Super acceleration. Nellie L's speed that seems to move in an instant is vividly displayed immediately. Nellie L is very unique among the former 10 blades, because her strongest is not the virtual flash, which is the best at the virtual flash, but penetrating a little bit of power and speed. If the 70th blade in the original book said that his speed is the fastest among the 10 blades, then under the same strength, his speed is simply scum compared to Nellie L. Nellie L's strongest is speed, then there is the power of penetrating and concentrating a little. Her strength is very different from those who are usually good at strength, such as Yami, the biggest and best phantom among the 10 blades. Yami has the greatest strength, and can continue to improve her strength in battle, but at the same time it will also increase her speed. Can't keep up with the power, that is, the nerve reaction can't keep up. Moreover, their power is extremely scattered, but Nellie L is not only good at power, but also can concentrate power in one point, maximize power, and can continuously improve her power in battle like Yami, but it won't affect his speed like Yami. On the contrary, in the battle, Nellie L's speed increase is bigger and more powerful than her strength. There will not be a wrong way to improve, but a perfect increase in comprehensive strength. Speed and strength are perfectly integrated. Take Dragon Ball as an example. Yami's ascension is like the future Trunks in Dragon Ball who fights Cyborg Flu, but his speed is slowed down by the increase in strength, so it is a mistake or even pathological path of ascension. The improvement of Nellie Lu is the same as the second stage of the Super Saiyan that Sun Wukong who fought with the android slew. The comprehensive strength is improved perfectly, and it is the kind of perfect control, especially the speed, because Neili Ailu and Lu Chengkong have very similar fighting concepts. No matter how powerful they are, it is not useless if they cannot reach the enemy or let the enemy not hit him. It's too fast. At the same level of speed, there are not many people who can keep up with Nellie L's speed. Even if Yi Yi uses the wind step in Bankai's state, it can only barely keep up with Nellie L. Her super acceleration seems to contain the power of space laws, and as her strength increases, this phenomenon becomes more and more obvious. Maybe at a certain point, her super acceleration will really become a real moment. Move. Lu Chengkong sighed inwardly. He really admired Nellie Lu's fighting talent. Nellie Aluna continued to improve her strength and speed during the battle, that is, her comprehensive strength, and reached Screto. After that, her fighting talent was perfected, and the improvement was even greater. 571 Elroth's self-explosion. At the beginning of your kindness in Zai Palace, and you have always been at the forefront, allowing me to enjoy the life of my dreams. I am really grateful. I can't repay it. Let me come this time. Actually my strength is not too weak. Not so bad as to become a burden. I want to repay you. Quote. This time, Nellie L was uncharacteristically, and the firmness in her tone could not be rejected at all. The cold light in her eyes and the faint murderous aura filled her amber eyes. At this moment, Nellie L put her own. The demeanor was displayed to the fullest. Even Lu Chengkong was attracted and a little unable to extricate himself. It's no wonder that so many people spoke highly of Nellie L when she was on Earth. She is truly unique and the most perfect. This moment really shows her perfection to the greatest extent. Lu Chengkong, and at the same time as he sighed, his attack became more ruthless. When the Shuiyan Crazy Saber, which had been retracted, was swung again, the power was obviously stronger than before. I will really die if I go on like this. No, I am Wang Shu's guard, almost the strongest Daxu in the virtual circle. How could I die in the hands of a ghost of the god of death? I can't die. Elros originally thought that his companion was Wang Shu's guard, Da Shu, and he would still be able to injure the death god with a sneak attack. He didn't expect that in his opinion, the woman who just stepped into the first level Screto was just here. Such a monster. Stephen, who was able to drag the high-level Screto with the strength of the primary Screto, obviously refused to pump to support himself in a short period of time, which made his face start to panic, and the fear that had disappeared spread again. Get away! Lu Chengkong Shuiyan swept the mad knife across the sky, and the space shook, but he couldn't feel the slightest fluctuation of spiritual power, and the familiar ice knife did not appear. However, Elros screamed, and there was a frost-covered scar that could be seen deep in the bone. Obviously, Lu Chengkong had used the power of escape to the extreme. It seemed powerless, but in fact it was so strong that it could not be seen by the naked eye. Invisible attack. Elros screamed and screamed in pain. The injury increased, and his strength began to weaken. His body began to feel the erosion of the power of frost, which made him feel a cold and biting feeling all over his body. Is simply excruciatingly painful. HMPH, go to hell. Lu Chengkong sneered, showing no mercy. The snow-drinked crazy blade drew a perfect arc in the air, and the swift meteor slashed towards Elros, who was already in a desperate situation. I will actually be defeated in your hands. Ahem, I won't get better and I won't make you feel better, let's die together. Elros suddenly grieved Isho, with a crazy look on his face. Instead of retreating, he ignored it. Everything rushed towards Lu Chengkong, activating the spiritual pressure in his body, and then suddenly detonated. The sudden self-destruction was a bit unexpected even for Lu Chengkong, and it was too late when he wanted to retreat. Bang! As if more than a dozen atomic bombs were placed in the same place and sonic boomed at the same time, the earth-shattering explosion sounded throughout the entire boundary, and a bottomless crater exploded in a radius of 10 miles, and the surrounding space was completely twisted together. The space at the center of the self-destruction was even more fragmented. Zongkong. Halabal's face, who had always been indifferent, changed greatly, because she knew that she was not strong enough to lead Jinan to retreat far in the morning, and Grimjiao did the same, so they did not suffer too much damage. Elroth actually died, and he was forced to self-destruct. The strength of this god of death is actually so strong, but it's okay, at least he will die under Elros's self-exposure. If you let this god of death continue to grow, there will be a Raihui will become Lord Wangshu's great enemy. On the surface, Stephen was neither happy nor sad, but he was surprised, sad, and fortunate. After all, they were both Wangshu's guards. They had lived together for so many years and fought side by side for many years. How could there be no feelings at all? The development of the world is always beyond everyone's expectations. In the center of the explosion, a strong wave of spiritual power suddenly erupted, and a figure slowly flew out of the shattered earth, with a trace of blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he blew himself up so close just now, and he was still a high-level Skrito. The self-destruction caused him to be seriously injured. High-level Skrito's self-destruction is really powerful. It seems that my strength should be around the peak of Skrito. Lu Chengkong's self-exposure this time seems to be embarrassed and injured, but it is not without benefits. Because of the rush of time, Elros did not ignite all of her Reiatsu at all. So at least 1/3 of the spiritual power was swallowed up by Lu Chengkong, but the price paid was the self-destruction of 2/3 of the spiritual pressure, which was good and bad. You didn't die, Stephen shouted in disbelief. At the same time, he was also seized by the opportunity to use the return blade. Nellie Alu immediately released the Zanpakudo. The pattern of Kuiji's shooting spear after Shikai has not changed much, but at this time Kuiji's shooting spear gives people an unstoppable, strange, elusive, and extremely dangerous feeling. Pear Blossom Dance. Nellie Lu said softly. She was the only one who didn't worry about Lu Chengkong just now, because she believed that Lu Chengkong would be fine. She had been together for so many years, but she knew very well how powerful Lu Chengkong was. After all, the stronger the moon, the stronger Lu Chengkong can feel, especially in the battle just now. Lu Chengkong just used Shikai's strength, Benkai. Guiran didn't use it at all. How could something happen? I have to say Nellie L really very wise and rational, has always maintained a calm, peaceful and unaffected heart. A strange scene appeared. Nellie L quickly danced the space gun in her hand, the name that describes the emerald shooting gun after Shikai, and the gun shadow in the sky immediately took shape. The strange thing is that Nellie L is not close to it. Instead, with a distance of at least 300 meters away from Stephen, he used such a stunt. It is very beautiful and majestic. If the airtight gun shadow is in close combat, it is extremely difficult to resist, but now it is more than 300 meters away, and it is completely useless. And Stephen, who was originally feeling palpitations because of the space shooting after Shikai, immediately mocked Nellie L's idiot in his heart. He just wanted to sneer at Nellie L, but he didn't say anything. His face changed greatly, terrifying. A scene appeared. Nellie L's flurry of pear blossoms was still dancing at a distance of more than 300 meters, but in front of Stephen there was a shadow of a gun that directly enveloped him. The speed was fast, the penetration power was strong, and the density was so dense in a big instant, dozens of were opened on him. 572 Hallible's style. Xiaozuan. Stephen, who was left with so many bloody S on his body in a row, used Xiaozuan to barely escape the coverage of the gun shadow. Impossible, you actually attacked me from such a distance, obviously did not penetrate the space, but crossed the distance of the space to directly let the attack come to me. Could it be that your Zanpakuto ability is? Stephen, as a high-level Skrito, will of course liberate Zanpakuto, and he has a very good understanding of all the power systems of the god of death, because he can be said to be the god of death in the first place. That's right, after the release of my Kuiji gun, it turned into a space gun. Apart from making it faster and more penetrating, there is no other increase, but it has the ability to ignore the distance of space and directly my attack came to the enemy, and later I learned that this is the Zanpakuto that claims to have the power to infringe the realm of the gods, the space-type Zanpakuto. Quote. Nellie L said lightly, she was not proud of her Zanpakuto's strength, some was just cold and chilling from beginning to end. Obviously, Nellie L had been in her heart since the time when Skrito sneaked up on the three of them just now. Vice Admiral they sentenced to death. It's actually a space-type Zanpakuto, a troublesome ability. At this moment, Stephen no longer dared to underestimate her because her strength was not as good as his own. This kind of strange ability was too troublesome. This is just Shikai. If it is Bankai, the Space Department's ability is more powerful, and it will not be more troublesome at that time. If you are not careful, you can easily die. When you talk again, Stephen's wound has been regenerated at a high speed. Obviously, like Ulquiorra, he did not give up the ability to speed up regeneration, so after reaching the level of Scolito, his speed regeneration became extremely terrifying. As long as the brain was not damaged, even if all the internal organs were destroyed, he can recover at a super fast speed, and the level and horror of super speed regeneration is far from what Vastard's Ulquiorra can match. Bite it, the vicious snake demon king. An abrupt and cold voice exploded behind Lu Chengkong, and a man with a cold and murderous intent appeared on Lu Chengkong's body, with a large and small piece wrapped around his hand. Viper. And this poisonous snake can easily swallow an elephant when it opens its mouth wide, and there are 4 poisonous fangs dripping from time to time full of corrosive venom. This poisonous snake bites at an amazing speed like a poisonous tongue. Lu Chengkong. Obviously, Lu Chengkong was a little embarrassed because of Elros's self-destruction. He looked like he was seriously injured. This Da Shu, who had just arrived and had been waiting for the opportunity, finally made his move. It seems that Lu Chengkong is really famous. In the legendary Skrito, there are actually 3 at a time today, and each of them is a high-level Skrito's big virtual, and they are all attacked by sneak attacks. Just when this weird poisonous snake was about to bite Lu Chengkong, a shadowy figure appeared behind Lu Chengkong in an instant, and at the same time, a business that the usual Hallible would never be able to tell floated into Lu Chengkong's ears. Actually, I lost a long time ago, and my heart has been captured by you, but I don't want to admit it. I'm really useless, but it's nothing, at least it proves what I said. Everything in this world is built on sacrifice, but I, Haribel, willingly sacrifice myself for you, my lover Lu Chengkong. Don't be sad for me, I am willing, my man, you don't have to be jealous of these. I may never see your cute macho appearance in the future, but I don't regret it. Apparently, Hallible, who had only reached the pinnacle of Vastord, didn't know the general situation of Lu Chengkong at all. From her point of view, with such an amazing self-destruction power just now, the spirits in the world seem to be irritable and restless. The terrifying power like a spiritual child storm has caused Hallible and Lu Chengkong to receive relatively heavy damage now, plus there is a high-level Skrito who is obviously better at sneak attacks. Lu Chengkong made a sneak attack, and Lu Chengkong might not be able to dodge for a while. She didn't think she could stop a high-level Screedo's sneak attack, but she believed that blocking a high-level Screedo's attack with her body would at least buy Lu Chenghong a little time, so she didn't have a trace of fear and just went straight rushed over. Idiot, I said that as long as I'm still alive, you won't sacrifice for me, and you underestimate the strength of your man. If Hannibal told him that he was a chauvinist at ordinary times, Lu Chenghong would probably be very embarrassed, but at this time, only Hannibal's words echoed in Lu Chenghong's mind. I don't regret it. I was moved by it and even brought tears to my eyes. The power of this sentence is the same as the one that Nellie L said, I want to repay you, and it blooms with her Hannibal style. The style and charm of her, this is the style that belongs to her Harabel. A black gold magic knife directly split the poisonous snake that was about to bite Hannibal's body in half. The pain Hannibal expected did not come, but instead felt a very familiar breath, and the embrace that was full of security like a haven, opened his eyes. What caught my eye was a pair of magical eyes that made the gods tremble, but at this moment, in Hannibal's opinion, these were the most beautiful eyes. Hannibal said nothing, nodded, and a tear appeared. Just before the tears turned into tears and fell down, Hannibal buried her head in Lu Chenghong's arms. She didn't want anyone other than Lu Chenghong to see her side. Hannibal, who was never afraid of sacrifice or being sacrificed, would actually be reluctant to give up at this moment when she controlled the power of the soul called sacrifice, that's right. Reluctant to give up, she is not reluctant to give up her life, but she is reluctant to give up this man who makes her love and anger his teacher against her own ideas, refute her own ideas and worldview. She did not expect that she, who has always been very plain and did not have too many emotional fluctuations, would have such an unforgettable reluctance in love. This strong love broke out without the slightest hidden in the moment of life and death just now. All the last traces of restraint from the past have been abandoned. In the current Hannibal's view, it doesn't matter whether it is sacrifice or not, it doesn't matter whether it's a worldview that is often refuted, and it doesn't matter what she calls self-esteem and self-esteem. What matters is that she can continue to be with the man in front of her. 573 Instant Kill High-Level Screedo. Let's go, Stephen. The new high-level Screedo named Oshu is obviously a person who can't get a single blow, escapes in an instant, and can block the person who he assassinates, and he still has to go with a high-level Screedo first. To fight, and finally suffered the self-destruction of high-level Screedo. The god of death, who was assassinated by himself and was still unscathed, let Oshu, who is good at assassination, shout without thinking. At the same time, he immediately abandoned Lu Chenghong without saying a word, and he did not care about the broken weapon after returning to the blade and immediately retreated to the rear. Since you're here, do you still want to leave? It turns out that you are Wang Shu's guards. No wonder there are so many high-level Screedos, Wang Shu. I haven't even tried to provoke him, so he dared to provoke me. Very good, you can go to hell first, and Wang Shu will come back to accompany you soon. This time, Lu Chenghong can be said to have completely reassured Hannibal not only in his heart but also on the surface. He can make this shark girl, Hannibal, who is prouder than a dragon, admit in front of him that he has lost, but it's just that the mouth refuses to admit that has already explained everything. Also, although Neliel and myself only have a good impression of each other on the surface, they haven't crossed the Thunder Pool at all, but they have read the original Death God, and with his understanding of Neliel, just now Neliel Lu's move was already a hint to her. It's just because there is no experience in the original book, Neliel Lu has not become smaller, and her mentality is compared to the original book. He didn't receive the influence of his personality when he became a child who lost his spiritual power and his memory disappeared. Speaking of which, he seemed more calm, rational, gentle, not so naive, and he could make any words and actions directly. Of course, it's a bit difficult for such a simple-minded little girl to take the initiative to say these shameful words, but Nellie L is still very brave, whether it is fighting or facing her own feelings. This is in line with his character, brave, sincere, beautiful, grateful, and never retreating. Therefore, Nellie L left a sentence "I want to repay you" in a little ambiguous words when she made her move to explain everything. If Lu Chengkong still doesn't understand like this, he is not an emotional idiot, but an idiot. You're all pissed off, the wind is blowing the clouds. Lu Chengkong looked at Stephen and Oshu, who fled immediately after a flash of Wang Shu pushed Nellie back, and Isho, who grinned coldly. In front of Chengkong, there are countless afterimages belonging to Lu Chengkong. It looks like a real person. If you don't take a closer look, it's really Lu Chengkong's ability to clone. It turned out that Lu Chengkong's speed after Benkai seemed to have surpassed the extremity that Shunbu and Ranjuan could achieve. When he stepped out in one step, he quickly left countless afterimages, including the one standing in place, a total of 30. As many as 6 afterimages. It was almost as if he had broken through the barriers of space and came to the fleeing Stephen and Oshu. Under their horrified and unbelievable eyes, Lu Chengkong shot out his feet, and Lu Chengkong had already kicked out between the lightning and flint. Thousands of legs. The legs that covered the sky were like dark clouds that covered the sky and shrouded the two voids in an instant. I saw Lu Chengkong using his legs to generate wind, whistling, and directly blasting the two voids out and burying the whole person on the ground, terrifying. The power caused a deep pit with a radius of 1 kilometer in the entire earth. Not only that, Lu Chengkong was kicking Liangshu to the ground, ignoring the glaring eyes, his face full of fear and panic, and his body was rapidly spinning at a speed that could not cover his ears. A high and unattainable pillar like a pillar of the sky was mixed with sand, reiatsu, trees, and everything nearby. A storm filled with flickering thunder light directly covered the two of them. So that the two of them didn't even get Benkai's chance to be completely wiped out by the ruthless lightning storm, and they couldn't take the opportunity to scream and left this world directly. Take it. Strangely, with Lu Chengkong's control, this storm, which has surpassed all the natural wind power in the world of Death God, dissipated and the two broken bodies were captured by Lu Chengkong and threw them directly in front of Harabel and Nellie L. Both of them are high-level Skritos, and the foreheads are all fully absorbed by the power of death. It can be said that the super-powerful imaginary that is only one step away from the peak Skrito, one of you, devoured them. Harabel can definitely break through to the first-level Skrito without using the spirit control gloves. He doesn't need to reach the realm beyond death and void like us, but he needs to cultivate on his own to have the same power. And Nailu, you can also break through to the middle-level Skrito and even reach the high level. At that time, with your Zanpakuto and your many abilities, even the high-level Skrito can barely fight for one. Win or lose, at least be invincible. Lu Chengkong knew just now that Nellie L could wound Stephen of the high-level Skrito with the strength of the beginner Skrito, but that was all because Nellie L's special Zanpakuto hit the opponent by surprise. In fact, Stephen's injury soon fully recovered. It was because Oshu's sneak attack failed. He died without showing his strongest strength from beginning to end. Harabel thinks that there is a lot of difference between the peak Vastord and the absorption of a high-level Skrito, especially the gap between breaking the limit and not breaking the limit, whether it is the god of death or the virtual big. Not to mention that swallowing a high-level Skrito with the strength of the peak Vastord is no less than a big cake falling from the sky, and it saves the realm and potential after using the control glove, but asymmetrical strength requires a period of cultivation, and only in battle can we have the time of the god of death who truly breaks the limit. Harabel and Nellie Alu did not speak, although they said that neither of them liked to devour void, especially Nellie L has not devoured it until now after arriving at Achuka's. I have had one ghost, but thinking of what these 3 ghosts did to Lu Chengkong, and Halabel, almost, died at the hands of Oshu. In a fit of rage, Nellie Lu no longer insisted on the idea of not devouring the emptiness. Such a big emptiness is worthless, so she didn't feel sick, and directly devoured their spiritual pressure. More importantly, after this battle, Nellie Lu knew that her strength was still insufficient, and she would have to become stronger next time she encountered such a situation. Shu wants to become stronger, but there is no way to devour the stronger than himself and break through between life and death, Epiphany, and now there is a high-level SK who is 2 stages higher than her, but still has more than enough to make her resentful. Leto was there, of course she would not refuse. It could be said that she did not devour herself this time, but she broke her own precepts to protect Lu Chengkong. 574 both breakthroughs. Sure enough, with the devouring of the two women, the weaker Hannibal immediately burst into a sky-high spiritual pressure, and the dazzling rays of light illuminated the nearby space for 100 miles. Grimjiao and Kunin, who knew early on that their own inadequacies would become a burden, hid far away, and found that the spiritual pressure of Sanskrito had disappeared, and Haribel's spiritual pressure had increased inexplicably. Of course they knew what it meant, so they flew over immediately. When Grimjiao and Kunanbai arrived, they immediately saw an unforgettable scene in their life. Hannibal was completely surrounded by azure blue reiki, and it looked like Hannibal from outside. It's like being surrounded by an azure poached egg. Transformation. This is the appearance of an orthodox breakthrough. If this is the case, what will happen to the god of death? It's a pity that I didn't have extra time, and I didn't remember the breakthrough at that time. Otherwise, I would also use it. This method. Lu Chong smiled lightly. It is an ironclad fact that Hannibal broke the limits of death and emptiness. After all, a high-level Skrito's spiritual pressure is completely absorbed by Hannibal, and it is strange that it cannot break through. As for the breakthrough after the breakthrough, how far Haribel can reach depends on her own creation. Although Nellie L on one side also made a breakthrough, she was not as good as Hannibal, but the battle when she broke through was even worse than that of Hannibal. Shooting out from all directions. The spiritual pressure and momentum on Nellie's body became stronger and stronger. When she arrived, the spiritual pressure on her body suddenly sank, and then instantly increased by more than 10 times compared with the previous one. Obviously, Nellie L's breakthrough has been completed. The peak of the intermediate Skrito is only one step away from reaching the high-level Skrito. Lost ground. It's not a problem to hold him completely, and even if the opponent carelessly underestimates the enemy and underestimates him, Benkai, who uses his space-type Zanpakudo, may be able to defeat or even seriously injure him. It's strange, with Stephen reaching the spiritual pressure strength of high-level Skrito for countless years, it should allow you to barely break through to high-level Skrito. How could this be? Lu Chengkong said a little strangely, the middle level is certain, but the high level should have a chance of more than 80%. This is only a conservative estimate. After all, Stephen is not just breaking through the high-level Skrito. It is a breakthrough for countless years, as Wang Shu's guard, and he is obviously much stronger than many members of the Zero team. Perhaps only under the Team Zero, Captain, Vice Captain, and King of Spirits, they are on par with the strongest team members of the Zero team. Such a big emptiness should make Nellie Lu only one step away from reaching the peak of the first-level Skrito. You can break through the middle-level Daxu and break through to the high level. Why is it only achieved? At the peak of the middle level, he didn't even touch the edge of the high level, so Lu Chengkong was a little strange. Raising your strength too fast is not only a good thing, but a bad thing. In the more than 100 years since I broke the world, my strength has already reached the peak of the first-level Skrito, and I can break through to the middle level with just one kick. What is missing is an opportunity, and now swallowing Stephen is obviously a great opportunity. Quote. Originally it was possible to reach the high-level level, but I gave up. I kept compressing and purifying my spiritual pressure. After reaching the extreme, I quenched the steel skin, Zanpakudo, etc., so I finally stabilized at the peak of the middle-level Skrito. Although this strength may not be as good as directly breaking through the high-level Skrito, but now my strength is very stable as a rock, and can be played perfectly, and the foundation is solid, and there will be no situation where the seedlings will be pulled out. After it is completely stabilized, let my strength is completely far beyond all the Shinigami and Shu of the same level of strength. Even if it is a high-level Skrito, I have the strength to fight. If I make a breakthrough in the future, not only will the breakthrough of the realm become extremely difficult due to the breakthrough of strength, but because the foundation is rock solid, my own strength will far exceed the same level. The God of Reaper and the Void, my strength will increase even more after breaking through the high-level Skrito. Nellie Eru said so much in one breath, she couldn't help but take a sigh of relief. When she raised her head to look at Lu Chengkong, she found that he was looking at her with eyes full of admiration, which made Nelyaru look pale. The smile is more obvious, and there is no joy in my heart, and I am very proud of the decision I made. Click. Just when Lu Chengkong was about to say something, a shattering sound came out suddenly, the blue dome suddenly cracked open, and Halibal appeared in front of everyone again, but at this time Halibal was already the same as the previous one. She has undergone earth-shaking changes, not only in strength, but also in appearance. At this time, Halibal was exactly the same as Nelly L. The virtual hole and the few masks that had originally disappeared completely disappeared, and even the clothes had changed. Just like Nelly L, wearing black tight leather shorts, her wonderfully long legs, rounded plump buttocks outline a wonderful line. Wearing a black short-sleeved t-shirt on the inside, but a black long shirt with no buttons on the outside, separated on the left and right sides. She stepped on black sexy long tight women's boots. I don't know if it was intentional or not. She and me after Liel broke through, the clothes on her body were no longer the traditional virtual circle clothes, nor the 10-bladed clothes. On the contrary, it is such a sexy and seductive but not revealing outfit, except that Haribel is dressed in black, while Nelly L is dressed in white. The two of them stand together in black and white, but there is no contrast between black and white. Instead, standing beside Lu Chengkong on the left and the right had a flawless sense of fit. In the same way, Halibal's approach also made Lu Chengkong admire for a while. She could have reached the peak of intermediate Scredo, but Halibal did not do this. Instead, she completely stabilized her strength in the primary Scredo. At the peak, after his own spiritual pressure reached the limit of infinite compression and purification, the remaining spiritual pressure was quenched with steel skin, Zanpakudo, etc. Therefore, the two of them are the same. Although they did not break through to the limit, they made them almost invincible at the same level, and they had a solid foundation of terror and their savings were amazing. When they made another breakthrough, what they got of course, the increase in strength is much more than that of the same level of death or virtual breakthrough. This is what they are most wise about. It seems that they are losing money, but in fact they are expanding their interests infinitely, laying the most solid foundation for their future strong road. 575 True and False Mauji Walai. Also, don't think that the outfits on the two girls are ordinary. If that's the case, their outfit changes won't appear until they reach Scredo. The clothes on them are the same except for the color, but they have extremely amazing defense and flexibility. In the face of the same level of death or the virtual, it may not seem too important under normal circumstances, but under their strength, even if only in the first stage, the god of death or the virtual don't want to cut their clothes. Because this is a combination of their own spiritual power and the inexhaustible excess spiritual pressure that they devour to make clothes, the defense power is only under their steel skin, otherwise. If the two women continuously inject spiritual pressure into their clothes and shoes, they can also increase the defense and flexibility of their suits, and their resistance will continue to improve. As long as they have enough spiritual support, their defenses will be no better than their own steel. How bad is the skin? That is to say, as long as they still have spiritual pressure installation, it means that they have 2 layers of steel skin that are not too different in defense strength during battle. Even in the face of a god of death or a virtual one whose strength is 1 stage higher than himself, it has a huge effect. I wanted to stay here for more than 160 years, but now it seems that our whereabouts have been noticed by Wang Shu. Maybe the king spirit has also noticed us, and it may not be long before someone comes to attack we, so let's go back to the Soul Realm first. Quote. It's only a month away from here for more than 160 years, and there are still 3 months before Aizen's arrival, which means that he can stay here for at least a few hundred years, but the appearance of Wang Shu's guards disrupted Lu Chengkong's plan. Had to leave early, obviously he was a little worried about the girls in the soul world. That's great, I finally don't have to stay in this place anymore, I can go back to eat peony cakes. Zhu Nanbai said cheerfully with a cute pink mouth. Let's go, this time the harvest is rich enough. Lu Chengkong smiled, opened his black voice and led directly to the Soul realm, but his face changed slightly when he just returned to Soul realm, and he said nothing. Said that they directly stretched out their hands and pressed on the bodies of the girls, and the 5 Lu Chengkong immediately disappeared in place, and it didn't take long for them to appear in the sky above Lu Mansion in the Soul realm. What's going on? Lu Chengkong's tone was very calm. Looking at the dilapidated Lu Mansion below, he asked the god of death word by word, the gloom in the words and the anger that radiated invisibly. The icy aura made the countless gods of death below their hearts torn apart. Husband. Yi suddenly appeared beside Lu Chengkong. Vivi felt cold when he saw Lu Chengkong's appearance at this time, but when he thought that he was worried about the safety of himself and others, his heart suddenly became tender and sweet, gentle like water. His eyes looked at Lu Chengkong, conveying the love in his heart. What's going on with Yi? Lu Chengkong breathed a sigh of relief, seeing Yi's appearance, which meant it was all right, but he still asked angrily. The people from Team Zero came and said that we had killed the members of Team Zero and wanted to judge us. In the end, we fought directly. I, Kenpachi, Hiriko, Shanghai, and Luanju had to besiege them, but it was a pity that their strength was obviously more than there are many of us, and we are much stronger than the Deadwood Golden Bell before. Even if there are only 3 of us, we can only protect ourselves and remain undefeated. Quote. Later, Bachenliu woke up from the retreat. She seemed to have improved greatly in strength. One of the 3 members of the Zero team was obviously a high-level Skrito, and the other 2 were also at the peak of Skrito's mid-level strength. But they were all killed by Bachenliu without much effort, and then Bachenliu asked us to devour the death gods of the Zero team. Seeing that my current strength is weaker than theirs, if they do it again, I will be the only one. People can clean up both of them. As for the high-level Skrito's strength, I'm not afraid of him. Saifeng Yuan Yi explained it a little more simply, and he immediately became excited after saying that, and then released his spiritual pressure, like a child who likes to be admired by his parents. It's really hard for you. With your primary Skrito's strength, facing these mid-level, high-level Skrito's strength, it's good for the Zero team members to remain unbeaten. You use the last one. Trick. Lin Chengkong happily touched Saifeng Yuan Yi's little head and said, Saifeng Yuan Yi still enjoyed Lu Chengkong's intimacy with an intoxicated look on his face. No, but I made the most powerful fatal blow. That move was too powerful and very dangerous. I didn't have much confidence that I wouldn't hurt myself, so I wouldn't do it until the last moment. Dare to use. Saifeng Yuan Yi shook her head, and when she talked about her hidden trick, a trace of horror flashed in her eyes. Obviously, she also felt the power of her trump card stunt to be unbelievable. Even as a user, she felt a little too scary. Then what about Bachenliu? Lu Chengkong looked left and right, and instantly sensed the nearby spiritual pressure, as if Bachenliu was missing. Go to Captain Ujihua's place. Saifeng Yuan Yi knew everything, and said everything he knew. Lu Chengkong nodded understandingly. Since everything is fine, that's fine, but Team Zero, and Wang Shu's guard, I will settle this account with you soon. Lu Chengkong thought so in his heart, and at the same time, he waved his hand, and the dilapidated Lu Mansion was quickly restored to its original state by the gathering of spirits in the sky. I'll go to see Bachenliu first, and Nailu and the others will leave it to you. By the way, Nailu, tell Yi and the others all about us in the boundary. Lu Chengkong left with a swish after speaking. Although Yi was a little reluctant, he felt happy when he thought that Lu Chengkong was still in the Soul realm and soon came back, and immediately pulled up Nelialu and Halibal. Yusho asked very kindly. When Lu Chengkong came to the 4th division, he found that both Bachenliu and Mao Zhawali were there, but what made Lu Chengkong strange was that the 2 women who used to be very close seemed to have a very strange atmosphere at this time. Because Bachenliu actually used a pair of cute big eyes watched Unahakaliu vigilantly. How could this be? I can actually see through the godmother's strength. Impossible, even if I have made great progress, it is impossible to see that there is still Bachenliu's abnormality at this time. Isn't she a godmother? Lu Chengkong's heart sank at the thought of this. She knew that among her wives, Bachenliu and Yi had the strongest perceptions. They were not acquired through practice, but we're born with an innate perception of something. There was an instinct. I felt that since Yakian Ryu showed such an expression, there was really a problem with this Uzuru Hana lie in front of him. 576 Amazing. The Mystery of Uno no Hana. Bachinliu, what's going on? Between the lights and flints, Lu Qingkong had already made a decision, so he stopped hiding and walked out directly. Xiaokong. Bachinliu's frosty face, which was full of vigilance and even murderous intent, thawed immediately, showing a pure smile, and threw herself into Lu Qingkong's arms, arching it, like a well-behaved little boy cat-like. Can you tell me who you are? Why are you pretending to be Mao Jihuili, and where is Mao Jihuili? Lu Qingkong had already guessed something in his heart, but he was still a little unsure. It's really smart. Why is it true or false? I'm pretending to say, I'm Mao Jihuili. Why don't you call me when I see my godmother? Mao Jihuili smiled gently, but it seemed that there was something behind her. An invisible little-faced devil, Lu Qingkong's face was covered in cold sweat with such a familiar smile. At the same time, I also determined my own thoughts in my heart. This person who looks the same as Ujiwali, even said that he has all the memories of Ujiwali and even said that he is exactly the same as Wujiwali, except for his strength. There is no difference at all. The woman should be some kind of secret technique of Uno Hana lie or the ability of Zanpakuto to confuse the god of death in the soul world. It should be an existence like a clone of the main body. Anyway, with the strength of Mao Jihuili, even the strength of this clone-like woman is not something that people in the Soul Society can see through. It can be said that except for Bachinliu and Lu, no one in the sky can tell the difference at a glance. It seems that you should have guessed that I am indeed a clone-like existence. The main body has already left. As for going there, it is not a good thing for you to know, but a bad thing. Mao Jihuili's avatar glanced at Lu Qingkong approvingly, but he did not expect to guess his own situation in a short period of time, which is indeed worthy of his attention. Hee, I didn't plan to ask you. Sometimes it's better to find it yourself. Lu Qingkong chuckled, a glint of confidence flashed in his eyes, making Ujiwali a little curious, knowing that even as Ujiwa she doesn't know where her body is going, so how could Lu Qingkong know? During this period of time, I have come into contact with two types of powerhouses that are beyond the corpse soul world and the virtual circle. One is Wang Shu's guard, and the other is the Zero Team. With the strength of the godmother, it must not be easy for her to do it herself. Quote. It is not difficult to know her. Although the soul realm is very large, I can be sure that she is not here. I just returned from the boundary realm, and it is impossible for me to be in the boundary realm. As for the space where the Zero Team and Wang Shu's guards are located, there are very likely. Lu Qingkong stared at the avatar of Mao Jihua in front of him. He knew very well that with Mao Jihuili's mysterious way of doing things, it was absolutely impossible to leave any flaws in her avatar, and he had to hide the most from her. The intimate Bachinliu must make it impossible for the clone to know her location, so it is useless to press the clone. You are really smart, although the main body guessed that one day you will guess her identity, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Ujiwali was stunned for a while, and said a little surprised. If you say that, I should have guessed correctly, the leader of Team Zero, Mao Jihuili. Lu Qingkong's words surprised the 8,000 Lu Vivi in his arms, raised his head and looked at the clone of his mother in front of him. Her eyes were full of surprise. Of course she knew what the leader of Team Zero represented. In particular, Kurosaki Masaki was once the leader of the Zero Division. The god of death in the Spirit King realm is to a large extent more mysterious and terrifying than the Spirit King, although she has always been curious about her mother's identity and why with such a powerful strength, he stayed in the Soul Society as a medical captain. But Ujiwali didn't say it, and Bachinliu didn't ask. She knew that her mother loved her very much, since she didn't say it. It was definitely for her own good. Now that she heard Lu Qingkong's words, her seemingly petite, but in fact incomparably intelligent little brain immediately understood the reason why Mao Jihuili didn't tell her true identity. I really guessed it, but it's nothing. Now your cultivation is only a line away from surpassing the peak of Skrito, and the actual combat power is comparable to that of the Void King. It's really amazing. But it's useless if you guessed my identity. Even if I don't know where the main body has gone, it is impossible for you to find it. Besides, since the main body does not let you know, it means that it is better for you not to go. Let's not talk about that. What do you mean by the virtual king? Isn't it Wang Shu after Screto? Why is there another virtual king? Lu Chengkong couldn't help but ask when he heard the word virtual king in his heart. I just praised you for being smart, but now you're stupid again. Didn't you know about the Spirit King realm from Kurosaki? If Screto is followed by Wang Shu, then Kurosaki Ikiryu is facing Kurosaki who uses Wuyu. All he can do is to retreat without being seriously injured, so doesn't it mean that Kurosaki Ikiryu's strength has reached the level of a Spirit King? The Kurosaki family may be nothing special, but their Zanpakuto has a very taboo and powerful trick of Wuyu. Although the price is the loss of the power of the god of death, its power cannot be underestimated, and of course Kurosaki Ikiryu can also use Wuyu. It's been a month. With his ambition and character, do you think that he has the same level of strength as the Spirit King, and he still won't make troubles? Mao Zhawali glanced at Lu Chengkong with contempt, but of course the latter ignored it. In this way, above Screto is the Void King, and Kurosaki Isshin should be around the peak of Screto's strength. Kurosaki Ilu is the Void King level, and the only ones who reach the Wang Shu level should be the Void Circle. The real ruler, Wang Shu, who is named after Wang Shu's level, has a godmother as well as the Spirit King. I'm not wrong to say that. After thoroughly figuring out these most powerful strengths, Lu Chengkong was also relieved. Mao Zhawali would not be her enemy, or he would not help himself over and over again, but the Spirit King and the King Shu has already forged a great feud with himself, and the two sides have no other choice except after one of them falls. Of course Lu Chengkong doesn't want to fight me. I know everything I want to know, but this time I have to go. You should know very well that at my level, penance is really useless. I can't find anything more than facing a strong enemy and life and death. A quick breakthrough method. My intuition tells me that looking for a godmother may be able to help me. I have always believed in my intuition. Not to mention, I want to complete the disintegration. This time I have to go. The mystery of the disintegration, I think I'm starting to see it. After Lu Chengkong finished speaking, he nodded to Mao Zhawali's avatar, turned around and left without hesitation with Bachenliu in his arms. But Mao Zhawali's avatar not only did not stop it, but the corner of her mouth twitched. Obviously she was in a good mood, and the satisfaction and approval in her eyes were obviously very satisfied and happy with what Lu Chengkong said. Ontology, your vision is really good, and his intuition is really accurate. Disintegrating. Facing a powerful enemy and life and death. I hope that after you find the ontology and see what you call a powerful enemy and life and death, you can really live and get your wish. Make another breakthrough. Quote. 577 Mao Zhawali vs. Wang Shu. Sure enough, you still found it. A being completely wrapped in a black cloak. It is clear whether it is a man or a woman, a man or a god of death, or a virtual being, suddenly said. His voice is calm and powerful, domineering but majestic, stern like a knife. Wherever the sound passes, everyone who hears it seems to only feel that a sharp knife is placed on his arm and ask for his name at any time. You should be very clear. I promise to help the King of Spirit to do 3 things, and this is the 3rd one. A voice sounded abruptly. It sounded like a lark, but it was full of compassion, and it gave people a kind of comfort. The compassion for the heavens and the people makes people feel comfortable physically and mentally, as if being swept by the spring breeze. HMPH, that useless King of Spirit, he only sees your potential. Even if he hadn't rescued you back then, you could have left safely. He just saw your potential investment, so that you can grow. Repay her when you get up, so you can't even see it. Dare to call Ling Wang's name directly, and there is only one Shu who is so disrespectful. His identity is also ready to be revealed. That is Wang Shu, whose name is above the level of the virtual king, and the owner of the female voice in front of him, needless to say. Everyone has guessed that the only person who is qualified to be on an equal footing with Wang Shu and King Ling is the leader of Team Zero, Mao Zihua. Of course I know that he has bad intentions, but anyway, he did help me block you at that time, otherwise I might waste a lot of time. The last thing is all paid off today, and I will no longer be from today the captain of the Zero Squad, but a pure Unohana. That's right, this woman is Maujawali, and it's simple to say, the Spirit King is the first death god of Shikai, and Wangshu is of course the first one, and Maujawali's identity is the most unique, because she is the first human being in the world of death, and the first life born is very remarkable. It's a pity that Maujawali, who was still a human at that time, had amazing potential, but after all, she was not born with powerful power. What she possessed was only terrifying potential. As such an existence, of course Wangshu wanted to devour her. After all, Wangshu does not want to have another opponent in the future. He and the King Spirit knew very well that whether Maujawali chooses to become a god of death or a ghost in the future, it will definitely be an existence at the same level as them. As long as she is swallowed up, even if she is weak now, her soul is perfect. Pure Chengdu is absolutely flawless. Swallowing her will definitely increase her potential and overwhelm the opponent in one fell swoop. It's a pity that Wangshu devoured Maujihuli in a hurry, so he fell in with King Ling's plan, and King Ling actually did the opposite. It is to prevent Wangshu from swallowing Maujawali. Obviously, King Ling intends to win Maujawali. After all, the best time to win is when she is the weakest. In the end, King Ling did as he wished, and Maujihuli chose to become the god of death, using the god of death as his starting point to cultivate, and at the same time promised to do 3 things for King Ling that would not violate his bottom line and do his best. With the addition of Maujawali, the Spirit King has completely overpowered the Void King. Even if the number and overall strength of the void created by the void were stronger than the soul realm created by the Spirit King, it would be useless. Wallai immediately changed the position of the victorious Libra. There were 2 shocking stations in the virtual circle and the corpse soul world, and Maujawali also helped the king twice, so each time was a fiasco for Wangshu. The last time Wangshu forcibly used the secret method to make himself stronger in a short time. Zeng, finally reluctantly, and Maujawali, the Spirit King tied, but unfortunately it didn't take long for this time to pass, and finally it was inevitable to meet again, retreated from the virtual circle, and opened up the virtual king realm to hide and heal. Of course, being Wangshu's most hated person, the Spirit King, is also uncomfortable. Obviously, if it wasn't for the Spirit King's prevention back then, he would have a high chance to devour Maujawali. Where would he become as passive as he is now? Therefore, when using the secret method to improve his strength for a short time, Wangshu focused on taking care of the Spirit King, completely ignoring the attack of Maujawali. Therefore, Maujawali did not suffer any damage, but the spiritual pressure consumption was a bit large. And I was a little tired, but I quickly recovered. Cared for by Wangshu was not much better. He had to open up a Spirit King realm. Obviously, he had bad intentions and worried that someone would take his place while he was seriously injured. Of course, what he was most worried about was Maujawali. After all, she is the biggest beneficiary. If she devoured herself, then Maujawali's strength will definitely become Wangshu, Spirit King, the most powerful existence among the 3, and the balanced triangle will be broken. He doesn't want to do this. They all thought the same as him, so he took his most trusted Team Zero to retreat to the Spirit King realm, and at the same time let Maujawali guard the Soul realm. As for his thoughts, Maujawali is of course clear, but she doesn't care at all. Anyway, she just promised the King Ling to do 3 things, not his subordinates, and there is one more thing that will be irrelevant later. And today is the last one. HMPH, you are a shrewd and terrifying woman. Can't you see the simple plan of the King Spirit? He obviously doesn't want to be seriously injured like last time, so he only asked you to come here alone and have a fight with me. It hurts both sides, and then he comes to take advantage and devour us both in one fell swoop. Quote. Although Wangshu's voice was hoarse, it could be said that he moved it with love and reason, but unfortunately Maujawali was unmoved from beginning to end, but slowly pulled out his Zanpakudo. Damn, do you really want to be picked up by that coward of King Spirit? Wangshu's body shook suddenly, The black cloak wrapped around him immediately shattered into countless small steps, and his gloomy face was about to drip out of water. Exposed. It's better to strike first, and then use the secret method later, seriously injuring the King of Spirits. At most, it's just laying in the Void King realm to cultivate for a few years. Void Flash. Wang Shu made a decision in his heart, and did not hesitate to take action immediately. Wang Shushu's color is not very unique, on the contrary, it is very common. It is just a red virtual flash like Killian, and it seems that there is no such thing at first glance. Nothing special, but when you look at it again, you will find the terrifying spiritual power in it. At the same time, when I just felt the unusualness of Wang Shushushan, the enemy who faced Wang Shushushan's attack also found this move powerful and fell at the same time. So far, only Ling Wang and Mao Zhawali have not been buried in his Void Flash. After all, no matter what, Void Flash is always the most powerful force in Void, and Wang Shu has developed it to the extreme. 578 Mizuno's early show. Shui Wuyu. Ujawali's face remained unchanged, and the Zanpakuto in his hand turned slightly, lying across his chest. The small mouth Vivi spit out 3 words, and the Zanpakuto in his hand became a huge and flat the one-eyed flying creature. I saw this flying creature named Wuyu open its mouth wide, and suddenly took a breath. The air seemed to be swallowed directly in the radius of thousands of miles. The terrifying suction force and the usual healing time of the 4th division were completely two concepts. Wang Shu's devastating virtual flash was inevitably directly sucked in. At the same time, Shui Wuyu burped lightly after absorbing the virtual flash, as if the taste was good and she was very full. Shui Wuyu, it's still the same. It seems that I am not the only one who has made progress for thousands of years. This Zanpakuto, the one that I fear most, Shui Wuyu, is still so powerful. Wang Shu's eyes flickered, and when he looked at Shui Wuyu in Mao Zhawali's hand, there was a very clear fear to the naked eye. Obviously, even the Spirit King's Zanpakuto did not make him so fearful. From this, it can be seen that out of water without moon is definitely not easy. Destroy it, kill it, the knife of slaughter. Wang Shu said nothing, and immediately released the Zanpakuto after seeing that his phantom flashing test was invalid, and the murderous aura that was so strong that it seemed to be transformed into reality permeated the entire world. The murderous aura seemed to be transformed into countless small knives, and the space where it passed trembled directly, as if telling everyone that the space in the virtual circle could not bear the devastation after the liberation of Wang Shu's Zanpakuto. I only know destruction. Killing will never become a great weapon. Mao Zhawali shook his head. His tone was quite pity, but he did not show the slightest mercy, and Shui Wuyu disappeared again, turning into a Zanpakuto, with the slightest slash of Ujawali. A gigantic slash over 1,000 meters in the sky seemed to rip apart the virtual circle and slashed towards Wang Shu. It can be said that in the original anime, the only thing that appeared in the original anime was her swordsmanship. Everyone knows that her swordsmanship is extremely terrifying, but no one ever guessed that it would be so powerful, tearing space between waves. Slaughter the world. Wang Shu is not to be outdone. After all, as a virtual, and he is the first virtual in the world of death, the unique militancy of the virtual, the killing is of course displayed by him to the fullest. Instead, he had a frenzied look on his face, just like when Zaraki Jian encountered a powerful opponent. Mao Zihuali's slash directly collided with Wang Shu's murderous slash in midair, and the sonorous sound resounded through the heaven and earth, and at the same time, there was a pitch-black ink where the two touched. There is no crack of light, obviously their attack has made the space unbearable and cracked. Suck up the world. Ujawali spit out 4 cold words, and the forms between Suzuki and ordinary Zanpakuto were constantly changing each other. Pakuto, when releasing other attacks, such as now, will turn into Suzuki again, and the suction power that is much stronger than before reappears. The suction is so large that it is like a black hole facing Wang Shu in the space where Wang Shu is, and it is a burst of absorption, as if a pair of huge mouths are absorbing the whole world. Even Wang Shu was suddenly sucked by the sudden suction. But he burst out a powerful spiritual pressure to stabilize his body. Trouble, if I go in, I'm easy to lose. Wang Shu knew very well what would happen if he was absorbed by Unahakali's Shui Wuyu. It was the first time he fought Unahakali that year. At that time, he just didn't understand Ujawali's Zanpakuto ability, and was accidentally sucked in. As a result, when he came out again, he was already seriously injured, and in the first battle between the official virtual circle and the corpse soul world, that battle Wang Shu was defeated so quickly was completely beaten by the Zanpakuto of Ujawali. One caught off guard, coupled with the siege of the Spirit King, would be so cheap. Slaughter all the people. After suffering a big loss, how could he use this move again? The big knife in his hand, which was wrapped in a strong murderous aura visible to the naked eye, slashed at Shui Wuyu, and the spiritual pressure in his body was crazy. It was transformed into murderous aura, and then turned into an overwhelming murderous aura that kept attacking Shui Wuyu's mouth. He knows that Shui Wuyu's suction is very strong, and it can accommodate very powerful attacks and extremely huge objects, but there are limits. As long as his attack reaches the limit that Shui Wuyu can absorb, then this move will ineffective. When the first virtual circle and the soul world battle, he relied on this move to resist the swallowing of the world by Mao Zhawali. Stupid, from the moment you can think of a way to crack my trick, you should have thought that I can also crack your unique trick, transform. The corner of Mao Zhawali's mouth twitched, his mind moved, and Shui Wuyu, whose body swelled to the point of exploding with continuous absorption, seemed to have some support, and his body was like the alchemy furnace of Taisheng Laojun, constantly shrinking. As if melting the murderous blade in the body, constantly absorbing the continuous melting, forming a perfect cycle. It's really troublesome. Wang Shu's flash. Wang Shu's face changed slightly, his right hand was raised, and a red ball of light with a jagged shape and flashing electric light on the surface immediately appeared and burst out at the same time. A pit bar following Wang Shu's flash appeared directly on the cedar tree below where it passed, and at the same time, the space in the midair near Wang Shu's flash was completely distorted by its terrifying destructive power, as if the power was no longer there. Lift a little space and instantly warp to a shattered state. Forbidden art, space transfer. Ujawali began to show her powerful ghost cultivation, and the use of the forbidden art in the hands of Ujawali was like using the 400 thunderbolts of breaking the way. It's easy and freehand, it seems to be understated, effortless, and it is simply too powerful compared to the great ghosts who can only make use of overdrafts, and the two are not on the same level at all. The power of space emanated, and the oncoming Wang Shu's flash, which was enough to distort the space, was directly transferred to a different space or somewhere in the virtual circle. Mao Jihuali, here. At this moment, Wang Shu's voice suddenly sounded behind Mao Jihuali, and at the same time he shot a flash of Wang Shu again, but this time Mao Jihuali, however, he did not use the ghost way again. Instead, he slashed back with the Zanpakuto in his hand. Under the surging urge, Wang Shu's flash was split into two. In front of Shu, a series of dense chopping and slashing constantly greeted Wang Shu's body. 579 The true power of water without moon. HMPH, Kendo. Don't think you are the only one. Wang Shu was not to be outdone, holding the blade of slaughter and directly facing the Zanpakuto of Ujihuali. As fast as a meteor, when you cut me, neither of the two sides could do anything for a while. However, the two in the fierce battle are nothing. Anyway, they are old opponents. Of course, they know that they can't tell the winner for a while, and both of them are only in Shikai state, but they want to see how the other party has improved over the years. Test the strength of both sides. But it is the desert under their feet that suffers, because every confrontation, every slash, and the edge they radiate leaves a crack like an abyss in the desert, and the nearby is destroyed in a mess, even the sky. As the two swords continued to collide, a circle of ripples collided. If the pure slashing battle between Aizen and Kurosaki Ichigo, who entered the fourth state of collapsed jade in the original work, was a mountain and a rock, then the kendo confrontation between Wang Shu and Ujawali was simply devastating. As the two continued to confront each other, the speed of the force became larger and faster each time, causing the nearby space to vibrate with the continuous ripples. Your swordsmanship has really improved a lot, but it's still not enough to see. Ujawali chuckled. Even in battle, she still looked so beautiful. Suddenly, her blade turned like a windmill on Wang Shu's. On the slaughtering blade, it kept spinning, and at the same time, Mao Zhawali leaned forward, and the overwhelming force kept pressing on Wang Shu. For a while, Wang Shu, who was still evenly matched, immediately fell into the disadvantage. At the same time, Mao Zhawali had to forgive others. With every move, he brought the mighty power to sever the world, and sometimes poisonous snakes vomited letters from an extremely tricky angle, but it was like a storm and a gust of wind. Dozens of knife marks were left on Wang Shu's body. Cough cough. Wang Shu was shocked. He didn't expect that his kendo cultivation had progressed so much in thousands of years. His cultivation in kendo is still not as good as Mao Zhawali, but he really didn't care too much. After all, he is the strongest. It is the virtual ability instead of kendo among the 4 skills of Shinigami. Therefore, there is nothing to be ashamed of losing to Ujawali in kendo. After all, he knows how strong Ujawali's kendo is. Even the spirit king who came from the god of death may not dare to say that he is comparable to Mao. Flowers are strong. Since he has already won the battle in kendo, there is no need for him to fight with kendo. After all, he is not abused. Although his overspeed regeneration is extremely terrifying, he doesn't want to be constantly stabbed on himself and then stabbed. Keep replying. Therefore, at a point under his feet, the Zanpakuto holding the slaughter blade immediately increased its strength to block the fierce blade of Ujikali. At the same time, his left hand was facing the face of Wujawali, which was more red than the pure red. The dark, deep red virtual flash, obviously compared to the tentative virtual flash just now, the current virtual flash is the real power virtual flash. Are you serious? Mao Zhawali chuckled, and stood motionless like this, and any Wang Shu's virtual flash penetrated himself, but a strange scene appeared, and the virtual flash actually directly from Mao Zhawali's as soon as the body wore it. There was no fluctuation, as if the body of Ujawali was not a real entity, but an illusory existence. Aren't you serious too? Finally started to use your Shui Wuyu ability. Wang Shu sneered, recalling the inexplicable scene when Ujawali showed the ability of Shui Wuyu back then. It's nothing special, the blade is like fire. The Zanpakuto in Ujawali's hand changed amazingly. The raging flames covered the blade and burned, and the dizziness of the nearby sky changed like an extremely high-temperature flame. It turned into a deep red cloud, as if the world had been cooked, and the nearby sand seemed to have been burned into the most primitive glass by the high-temperature flame. Sure enough, it came out, Shui Wuyu's ability. Looking at the Flame King who swept towards him in front of him, he sighed inwardly, saying that he really didn't want to be the enemy of Mao Zhawali, but his own what he has done has left the two sides with no room for maneuver. If she had known at that time that the Zanpakuto would be so strange, terrifying, and changeable after Ujawali became the god of death, he really did not want to be the enemy of Ujawali. Put it simply, the Zanpakuto of Uanohanagi is that when Shikai can use the Shinigami who was swallowed by Suzuki or the Shikai of Zanpakuto mastered by Shu and the others. Benkai's ability is even simpler, that is to use Suzui Tasuki who swallowed it, or Benkai who possessed the power of Zanpakuto mastered by Shinigami. It's simple and straightforward to say, but it's too scary to think about it carefully, although there is a condition to activate like Aizen's Kyoka Suzuki. That is, the Shinigami or Fu who must be swallowed by Suzuki can use their Shikai and Bankai. Just like Jinghua Shuiyu, you must see Jinghua Shuiyu's liberation before you can hypnotize it. However, Shui Wuyu's power are indeed not comparable to Jinghua Shuiyu. It is indeed the first human in the world of death. After becoming a death, she is really blessed. The hidden potential erupted violently. But don't underestimate me. Killing storm. Looking at the flames in the sky, like a sea of fire, Wang Shu has no fear at all. After all, being able to use all kinds of Zanpakuto does not mean that she is the most powerful. It is useless to use the power of the Zanpakuto to the fullest. However, with the shrewdness of Mao Zhawali, he has definitely thought of an acquired solution, which is to study the energy essence of all Zanpakuto, and completely analyze their essence, similar to the way he deliberately did not crack Jinghua Suzui. In this way, the most time can be left, and the most time can be used to maximize the power of the Zanpakuto that Uno Hana Lai likes to use. After all, Mao Zihua has lived for so long, how can she not see her own shortcomings, and the most important thing she lacks is time. I think she has solved this weakness that is not a weakness, and even turned the weakness into an advantage. The grey murderous aura actually formed a huge storm soaring into the sky, with the cold, bloody murderous aura and the sea of fire constantly colliding in the sky, constantly raging, like a natural incompatibility between water and fire. The space fortress in the nearby space could not bear the two sides for a long time. There have been cracks in the attack of the two, and if the two of them continue to fight like this, it may not take long for this piece of space to collapse. 580 The Mystery of Disintegration. Ujawali, with our strength, if we choose to fight in this way, even if we fight for a few days and nights, we will not be able to tell the winner. Do you want to continue? Wang Shu wouldn't mind if it was a one-on-one fight, but now in an unknown place, there is a hidden spirit king who will come out to attack him at any time or Uzuru Hana Lai, which can be very dangerous. I thought you wanted to continue dawdling with me. Are you in a hurry? You are not the only one the spirit king wants to devour. What about me? I'm not in a hurry. What are you in a hurry? Mao Zhawali has the expression that your emperor is not in a hurry for the eunuch to do something urgent, but her heart is not very calm. Obviously, she is also on guard against the spirit king, but she never regrets her decision. After all, she belongs to the kind of person who will never look back once she decides to fall. No matter what she owes, she should be clear, and she really doesn't know who will die in the end. Cold light flashed. Bingrin Bingshin. Suddenly, an ice blade with a shocking cold air came out of the sky, and where it passed, the flowing blade of Mao Zhawali was like a fire, and the ice blade came directly and slashed. To Wang Shu. Tricks of carving insects. Wang Shu was dismissive. With a wave of the blade of slaughter, the endless slaughter aura formed a blade of murderous aura that directly penetrated the ice blade in front of him. He actually found here. Mao Zhawali Vivi was surprised for a moment. Her mouth opened, she turned her head to look behind her, and found a person standing in the distance. It was the very familiar Lu Chengkong, but with the 8,000 streams, who were inseparable from him, did not come this time. Very simple. Lu Chengkong was worried that when he came to look for Mao Zhawali, King Ling or Wang Shu would send Team Zero or Wang Shu's guards to attack, although he also knew the number of Team Zero or Wang Shu's guards. Not much. After falling so much, it may not come again. However, after sailing the 10,000-year ship carefully, there is also a lot of peace of mind for Bachenliu there. Of course Bachenliu is very dissatisfied with this, but in the end, she nodded reluctantly and agreed. Obviously, she also knew that Lu Chengkong did this. It's the best. Of course, Bachenliu didn't leave behind an explanation when he parted. I know what you're going to do. Xiao Kong, do you disintegrate? Be sure to come back safely with your mother. Apparently, Ba Qinliu's smaller body has a clever and exquisite heart buried in it. Knowing what to do is the best way to do it. Of course he didn't want to part with Lu Chengkong and knew that Lu Chengkong's line was very dangerous. However, she knew better what she should do so that Lu Chengkong would not have all the worries, so even though she was very unwilling, uncomfortable, and unhappy that she stayed, he believed that Lu Chengkong would be absolutely fine. My 3 Wang Shu guards have fallen. Why are you still dead? It seems that I really underestimated you, but because of this, I can't keep you. After Wang Shu saw the person clearly, Vivi's pupils shrank. Of course he noticed the death of Wang Shu's guards, but he thought that Lu Chengkong and the 3 Wang Shu guards had perished together, but he didn't expect to be alive, but the more he did, the more it is to let Wang Zhu guard's murderous intention to Lu Chengkong be bigger, and a Mao Zhawali is enough. If Lu Chengkong continues to grow, sooner or later, he will be a Mao Zhawali again. But my subordinates are really useless. Maybe they have been rotten without fighting for too long. Maybe the replacement of Wang Shu's guards is imperative. Wang Shu landed and stepped on the crackle, set on the desert of rustling sand mixed with glass. I didn't expect you to comprehend the mystery of disintegration so quickly, but you shouldn't be here. You are very sad when you have an accident. Mao Zihua looked at Lu Chengkong and quickly understood Lu Chengkong's plan. It turned out that Lu Chengkong had already sensed the mystery of disintegration, and now he needs to face strong pressure or a breakthrough between life and death to let him one's own thorough understanding learns to disintegrate. If something happens to you, Bachenliu will be even more uncomfortable. You know that if you lose both, you are likely to die. I really don't know whether you are smart or an idiot. Lu Chengkong gave Mao Zhiwali a fierce look. This is the second time to speak to Uno Hanaritsu in this tone. Even you know that if you want to go further, there is no other way than the explosion of potential between life and death and the epiphany of opportunity, so why don't I know it? Although it is dangerous, it is not a chance, and how do you know that it must be me who will die in the end? I don't know who will die. Mao Zhiwali took a deep look at Lu Chengkong. She was surprised to find that from the very beginning, she was only holding a ridiculing mentality and meeting Bachenliu's request for Lu Chengkong to call herself a godmother. After the change, she found that she quietly regarded Lu Chengkong as her own, and regarded him as her godson. Especially Lu Chengkong's stern look just now made her feel warm. This kind of true concern was conveyed to her heart through the bond between godmother and godson. Especially when she thought of Bachenliu, her heart softened even more. But she was very human after all, so she quickly put away her sentimentality and said in a confident and firm voice. Sure enough, this woman definitely has preparations in her heart. No wonder she dares to fight with me to the death. Spirit King, you idiot, you stopped me at the beginning, although you won twice, but also created a big enemy. It's definitely not something you can handle with a scumbag like you. Wang Shu scolded King Ling for an idiot in his heart. This kind of woman is simply uncontrollable. He actually delusionally thinks about it. In the end, he may be countered by Mao Zihua, and he has a feeling that he will no longer owe King Ling any more after today. The most terrifying thing is the human affection, and if the Spirit King makes a move, he will definitely suffer from it, and it may become a stepping stone for the Usually. Sure enough, the grievances are clear. The grievances will be repaid, and she will pay back the favor of the Spirit King, but if the same Spirit King dares to plot against her, then the godmother, a merciful and gentle woman, will show her iron side. It seems that Bai was worried about her. Also, how could she not understand the two of them after dealing with King Spirit and Wang Shu for so many years? It seems that she really cares about the two of them. This time, she may really plan to kill two birds with one stone. She wants to know everything clearly and has no worries. At the same time, she has an opportunity. Although it is very dangerous, it is a crisis. There is no opportunity without danger. I really don't know who will die. Lu Chengkong heard the words. Countless thoughts flashed in his mind. Looking at Mao Zhiwali's deep eyes, which was different from his usual temperament, he was no longer worried, and his tense face slowly closed.